Every so often, a creative steps into the game and reshapes the culture. Someone who breaks boundaries and offers a new perspective and lens to see through. Dan Connor is one of those people. You may not know his name, but we guarantee you've seen his work. From Supreme to collaborations with Ducati and Honda, Dan's influence runs deep. Working with athletes like Formula One's Jack Doohan and MotoGP's Marco Bezzecchi, he continues to bridge the gap between streetwear and motorsports.
These kids are showing that they're into kind of style, fashion, all this stuff. You show it in your merch. You should want to wear your merch.
Now it's time we put a face to the work that's been so impactful in the motorsports community. Gypsy Gang, welcome Dan Connor to the show.
I met a gypsy.
Roll. Dan Connor, welcome to Gypsy Tales,
What's up,
mate.
man? Good to finally meet you.
I know it's been a long time coming. One of the casualties of the LA fires of the the last time you missed day one.
I know. I'm bummed because that was going to be my first day one too. So it was like not ideal.
Heck of a race too.
I know, dude. It's been a big season so far.
Yeah,
I got to catch up on Glendale. I was out in the desert and pretty busy out there, but yeah, I got to catch up on that. It was a big weekend too, man. Fuck.
So you were doing track day, like a bit of track day action out there?
Yeah, I was out in at Chuckwalla for the last week. Basically, I rode 6 days straight out there with my boys. Yeah, my good friend Corey Alexander and his uncle Richie, they have a shop that I get all my bikes from, and they also run a race team in Moto America. So Corey's a professional Moto America racer. Anyway, all kind of winter, they're out there training. They got a garage just like all built out with like bedrooms, kitchen, all this shit. Yeah. I was going to hit you up.
I would love to.
You should go out there because I know you did. I was at Phillip Island the day after you with the Baylesses.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep, totally. So I know you're down, and I was like, fuck. You've been pretty gnarly schedule lately, but
yeah.
If you ever want to go out there, dude, let me know. It's insane.
I
was out there, and it was just like you're in the middle of nowhere. It's like little over an hour east of Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Desolate, but like gorgeous.
Pull up the track. What's it called?
Chuckwalla. Yeah, Chuckwalla Raceway. Basically and there's a race weekend this weekend. So everybody, like all the Moto America guys are out there training. Joe Roberts was out there ripping.
He was doing he did the pod yesterday.
Oh shit, no way. Yeah, I was kicking it with him out there.
Nicest dude.
Dude, he's great.
Bro.
He's great. He's moving to New York too right now too. So he was chopping it up. He's like, yo, I found this place. He's showing it to me. Like, you know, living in New York's crazy, and he's going through it right now because they're trying to gouge him on a broker fee and all this shit. But that's like normal New York shit. You know?
Yeah.
But it looks sick. But yeah, dude, look at that.
Love that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So they own that place?
No, so basically over in that like paddock area that you can see, there's a big section that's all garages that are like these massive kind of garages that are all kind of built out depending on however the person wants to do it. But they have one out there that's amazing. They got bikes that I just flew out here with all my gear. They got bikes for me to ride, and like you can rent a bike. You can see those little cabins there. There's got cabins on site for you to stay in, and it's just like,
dude, I'm so in.
It's so fun.
It's the best.
Fun. Yeah.
I just don't get to do it enough.
Well, and that's close enough too, you know? Yeah. And like, I feel like that track, there's a lot of tracks in California, obviously, but that one's super cool, fast and flowy. It's kind of Phillip Island-ish, you know, where it's not a normal U.S. like kind of stop and go like techie track. Yeah. It's fast and flowing and like, dude, just amazing. So I was out there ripping.
I'm in on that.
Yeah, let's do it.
What bike were you riding?
I was riding Ducati V4, which is what I ride usually. And then they had the new one out there too. So I was riding the 25 where they just did this new revision of it. And got to rip on that thing.
That's which was so sick,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah, it was fun. Super fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What gear are you running out there? You Dainese guy?
Dainese. Yeah, big Dainese guy. I'm tied with them, and I've been doing some really cool projects with them too. So sick. I actually, you know, like an actual child. This last year is the first time I've had like a custom suit and a custom helmet, and I feel like a child. I'm like, oh my God. So it was like the first time I was like running that gear this time, and it's like civilian factory vibes. You're like, oh shit.
I know. Yeah, there's a few things.
You know it.
There's a few things that you just, it's the little things.
Yeah.
Like getting some sweet gear from like Alpinestars.
Yeah,
For me, it's like having a full goggle bag.
Yep.
I just feel like goggles
For
are
sure.
just like
For
such
sure.
a
What
luxury.
goggles you run?
Oakley.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just like to get a full, to get like a full goggle bag with lenses and tear offs. And
Yep.
we were the kids that were like washing our tear offs, like
Yeah,
going out on
totally.
the track and like finding tear offs that were still good.
Yeah.
That you could wash them. So
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just those little things make a difference, you know.
Crazy. Yeah.
But the season's been pretty epic so far with all the Supercross stuff. You're
Dude.
avid follower.
Yeah. Not as much as like road racing stuff, but I love it. It's so cool to see. And as we were chopping up before, it's like seeing how you guys have been covering it too has been amazing, dude. AC and McGrath on the follow up.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
That was all time, dude. That was all time.
Just crazy inside, eh?
Well, you know what? For me, I was like, oh, these guys are being more candid than I thought they would be, especially with AC kind of locked in on the like race day live shit. I was like, I thought he might toe a little bit of a Feldier line through some of that shit.
A Feldier line.
You know?
Yeah.
But no, he was wild honest about a lot of stuff, you know, and seeing, I think he's doing a good job of doing it on the air, but then he's kind of giving you like the next level, like kind of deep dive on it because he's clearly obviously been thinking about it. And when you guys went back through it, sick.
It's cool too. Like when I did the race day live thing, that was the first time I've ever had like, you've literally got a producer in one ear. So like you're sitting there and the whole time that there's a producer kind of like giving you points or stay on this, or you've got 20 seconds, wrap it up, lead into this next ad. So I think that game, I knew that's how it was, but when you just do this and it's just us.
Yeah, totally.
Bullshit and there's none of that. And gave me a new respect for what those guys have to go through. And like especially JB, he's never done anything
for sure
really like that before.
Yeah.
And he was so pro.
No, I feel like he's good, man. He's really good. Were you tripping on it? Like having the thing in your ear? Like
no, I kind of knew that it was coming. So I kind of, but I had like the easiest job there. Like they just literally set you up, you know?
Yeah.
But it was cool. And I think it was funny, like me and Adam in that segment of Race Day Live, we were basically doing a slimmed down, more polished and professional version of what we did in here.
For sure.
So it's like I could see, I love that he's putting in the effort that he is for the sport and taking that job as serious as what he is, you know? And I think like being in here doing this sort of stuff, like you're getting the points flowing and you're getting your head around, you know, different takes. And it's cool. Like it's honestly like almost like a bit, you know?
Right.
It's not comedic.
Right.
But he is like a very loose, big wandering in and out, up and down. And then he takes it to Race Day Live and it's like a sharp, polished bit almost.
No, for sure. No, it's good.
So
really good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love that we were sort of talking. We were talking off air about some of the changes and directions, and like, so to give people a bit of context, you come from the supreme high end fashion world, but a full moto head. Yeah. And your perspective on things is very valid. And I love your take and the way that you see our sport, because I think we see it very similar. Like we have such like a grandiose vision of what we think motorsports in general can be, you know, and it's like your lens and the world that you're around. I think you've got such a sick take on it all.
No, for sure. And I think that's why me and your brother clicked immediately. You know what I mean? I seen him on pit lane in Austin at the MotoGP race.
That's right.
Yeah. Me and my boy Ryan had we just did a lap in the pace car, and they took us out in the pace car. Shout out to Fabio and Tom for hooking that up. But we came back in and he was chilling with Jack in the KTM. I think it was Jack's first KTM season, but they were doing like a big shoot in the pit lane and stuff.
Oh, was it for the Dirt Studio stuff?
No, it was before that.
Okay.
I can't remember what exactly it was, but yeah, they were doing some just like group photo in front of the garage and shit. And I was like, that's Jason's brother. So I rolled up and just chopped it up with him. And ever since then, like he's come to New York and we've kicked it. And it's always this conversation where it's like, hey, casually, we're just like, we're not trying to like pick shit apart, but you just start talking about like, yo.
Yeah. It's like when you really are passionate about
100%.
You know, like that's just how your brain kind of goes. If you like have that big vision and you're passionate, it's like fun to bullshit.
Yeah, and you know, regardless of what it is, if you're like ahead, you're rabbit holing on all this shit internally. And then, you know, when you meet like-minded people, it's easy to compare rabbit holes. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't think there's like that many people. I think we're kind of like outlandish in our sports in a way. You know, like there's a very like not. I don't think many people have like a huge vision for what the sport can be, and I don't even think some people like want the sport to be bigger at times too,
Right.
which I think is like valid. But
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Some people are just watching something for entertainment, and that's what it is, you know. And they might ride too, but it doesn't really go past that. But you know, I think people that have followed something for a long time and like really kind of like
super invested
are just thinking about it a lot, you know. Then it kind of goes into like what we're saying, you know.
What got you into it?
Motorcycles in general?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that most young males think that motorcycles are cool, right?
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
Yeah.
You see them and you're like, I would like to do that. But I didn't grow up doing it. I grew up in Oregon, in Salem, Oregon, and then lived in Portland, Oregon for a long time. But my family's from Montana. And so we would go there every summer. And then there was a super cool kid down the street that had a Honda 125. And he would let me ride. He would take me up into the hills. This is like old mining town, this like weird little town in western Montana. He'd take me up into the hills where he'd had like a couple of little shitty jumps, like, you know, jumps to flat, like.
Yeah.
And he would take me up there and then like rip and then let me ride it around. And that was like the first kind of foray into like moto shit. And then I didn't really get into it until later on. I was always kind of followed that stuff because there's always been an overlap. I grew up skating, snowboarding. That was like my shit forever, you know? And that's always been my life. But there's always been that overlap, you know? And really, I was a pretty crazy kid following the skate shit and partying, which went along with it. And, the skate focus quickly shifted to the party became the actual activity.
Yeah.
And so at a very young age, I was not able to drive for a while. And once a little bit of time went by, I was needing some transportation. And I was like, I'm not going to get a car. I'm going to get a motorcycle. And so I went and got a bike. And that was it. Street bike, you know, I walked into a Ducati dealership in Portland. And I was like, what do you got to do to get one of these bikes? And they're just like, you know, slide some paperwork across the desk, and I left with the bike, no license.
That's the best.
It was
Life changing.
I was just like fucking teeter-tottering my way home. But yeah, after that, it just went, you know,
just deep.
Yeah,
the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
that was the peak
for sure.
into the
But
rabbit hole.
I was always still very skate, but it was like now part of this thing, and like, you know, yeah.
Motorcycles have such a wild place in culture.
For sure.
So much bigger than I think. Maybe there is like a pretty big disconnect between just like the culture of motorcycles and like the racing world of it, you know, because when you think about it, just throughout pop culture, through, you know, guys like Steve McQueen and, you know, like there's such all of the Bond movies, like it's always been such a huge part of culture, and like the badass dude is always the one that's on the motorcycle.
For sure. Yeah, and there's always that kind of, especially in the U.S., there's that very kind of heritage-y vibe. But I feel like that doesn't carry over as much, but it's more about the shit in the movies, like stuff, you know, other pop culture references that are a little bit more like just more modern, I guess, that kind of like are very much, you know, kind of steering it in a way.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, no, that stuff's always been around and always been cool. So that's kind of like what got me into it. And it kind of just has occupied a space in my life for a while. And then Not until I moved out to the East Coast did I really kind of dive in as a way to kind of like get out of New York City and go do some fun shit that felt like,
Yeah.
You leave New York and it's very similar to how Oregon looks where I grew up because
Once you get into like Connecticut
or just I have a house. I live in the city, but I have a house 60 miles north of the city, and as soon as you get out 1 hour outside the city, it's like lush green.
Yeah.
Hop on a dirt bike, leave the shop on a dirt bike, go rip all day, and then come back. Like, so fun.
That's epic.
So then it became kind of like a really great way to kind of take a break from cool guy New York City shit and, kind of reset, hang out with people you never would have hung out with otherwise. And have a good time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because New York is a crazy bubble.
It is. And Moto is very much a part of it, but it's a wild version of it.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never really experienced like Moto.
Have you been in New York City?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've never really experienced like Moto culture there.
Well, it's like anywhere, it's a variety of shit, from like kind of bad boy quasi outlaw-y shit. It's different there. I mean, there was a HA place in the East Village for years.
Yeah,
that's
right.
not there anymore.
No way.
Yeah, it's not there anymore. But there's still kind of like like bike gang-ish shit, but not in the way that I'm used to from the Northwest. Where it was like really crazy. But there's that. There's just like kind of bad boy like Rough Rider shit. There's like the new like kids on dirt bikes. You gotta,
dude. I need to come out there.
Kids on dirt bikes, ripping. And like not giving one shit. Like they're not getting, they can't do anything. Every once in a while they'll do a bust and like put it on the fucking news so everyone's kind of tripping. But yeah, there's that, and then
so like the whole bike life thing.
Yeah. But and I would say like the more kind of like 12 o'clock boy, like which I kind of separate from bike life. Like bike life is like a newer version.
So what would be the differences?
I think the purely kids on dirt bikes, on 250s, 450s in the city.
No shit,
knobbies.
Dude, try to find some shit.
I mean, I'm trying to think.
I fucking love that. I want to go and see that.
You would see kids uptown ripping 30 deep, wheeling, flipping off the cops as they go by, and they can't do anything.
I wonder. Dude.
It's the shit that goes on in a lot of places, you know. But
I wonder what would happen if you got these dudes on a track.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting because the
crazy skill
for sure. And the track I go to the most in Jersey is right between Philly and New York City. So you get a lot of dudes that maybe have leader bikes that are kind of, a little bit this vibe. And like anybody, who rides a fast bike around, they think they're really fast until they like get it there. And it's like,
it's confronting.
They'll crack it on the straight and that's about it. And you see it and it's like, oh shit, they got to figure some shit out. They're gonna wad this thing. And they do often, Yeah.
That's wild that whole scene. Like, there's so many scenes within New York City.
Yeah, and then there's the dudes that like put on like suits and go on, like the distinguished gentleman, right? There's
like the cafe racer type.
Yeah, vibe. That and there's all types of shit, and it's cool to see. It's really cool. I think at times I'm kind of like, this shit sucks, but that's just me stuck in some judgy New York shit, like. It's cool because the amount of people you see ride motorcycles in New York City is insane.
Fuck.
Yeah,
I need to do a trip there.
You should come.
Well, I'm gonna go for Supercross.
Okay. Yeah.
Will you go to that?
Yeah, for sure. Wait, is it in Jersey this time?
MetLife.
Yeah,
where's
East
MetLife?
Rutherford, New
Where's
Jersey.
that?
Just
That's
across
Jersey?
the river, just across the Hudson. Yeah.
You gonna come to that?
Yeah, I'll come. Let's do
All
it.
right.
Come early. Let me know. We'll go. We can hang in the city. We can go upstate. We can go ride dirt bikes. We can, if you want to go do lap, we can go ride supermoto. We can go on a big track.
Can you just see what the date is for that, Griff? Because my wife's never been to New York, so
sick.
I was like, I'm keen to
Yeah.
bring her just to see the city
For sure.
It would be cool to just like try and find some pockets of bikes, just different people like trying to find some kids riding.
Because in the summertime too. When is it?
It is April 19th.
Oh yeah, early. Well, spring will just be kicking off. Come through, you'll see it. There's once the season starts to change, there's like weekly bike stuff going on. Like little meetups and stuff like that. But yeah, it's cool. It's super cool.
How much has the city changed over the last few years?
A lot.
With COVID? Or just in general?
Yeah. With COVID, it's changed a lot. A lot of places, everywhere has changed a lot,
Yeah.
New York City is a crazy version of it because of money and, the 8-9 million people in a pretty small area. So it's been wild. It's a lot of like a lot of the little stores are going away, and it's kind of more chain stuff in the city. And like a new version of that, which is like young financial bros version of like, oh, I'm going to open, you'll see a coffee shop. And then a week later, you'll be like, wait a minute, I've seen 14 of these coffee shops that are like kind of cool. And like, they're a little bit more geared. Like it's like, these kids are smart of these ideas they're coming up with, but it's kind of bullshit.
But there's no soul behind it.
No, and it's the reality of rents, leases, shit like that in New York is insane. So it's and it depends on what part of the city. There's still some very real New York shit still going on. But Manhattan, parts of Brooklyn, it's kind of changing. Kind of same everywhere. It's just a different thing in New York City, because it's such a crazy place. But,
yeah. It is such a wild place.
It is.
Like when you just think about how long it's been there, how many people have been there, how small it is.
Yeah.
Like, but what comes out of it, like, there's really nowhere else in the world that's like it. It's such a wild melting pot.
It is. It really is. And it's such an amazing place to live because you can do something different any weekend forever. You can go. I live in the East Village in Manhattan. I can go eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and that's amazing. But there's usually a day or two a month where you're like, "What the fuck am I doing here?" Like, this is whenever you need to do some sort of like baseline like life thing, like going to DMV or some things like that, you're like, this is crazy. But it's amazing. It's sick.
I had an opportunity to move there. Oh fuck! What year would it have been? Maybe like 2015, I reckon. And I was dating a chick in California, and I was like surfing all the time, and I just like I couldn't let go of California.
Right.
And I'm like, part of me regrets it, but then it would have changed my life. Like I know it would have completely changed my life in the course of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hard to regret it, knowing what I have in my life now.
For sure.
But there's a big part of me that was always like, fuck, I wonder what would have happened in the parallel universe where I moved to New York.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. What year did you come to the US?
2010.
2010. Yeah.
So I reckon it would have been 2015 was the year I didn't move to New York.
Yeah.
I had like a business partner, and him and his wife, they moved there. And they were like, just come move in with us. But I'd been living with them for years, and I was like, nah, like, I didn't want to like go and live with them again,
Yeah.
So I ended up just like staying here. But
Fuck,
it would have been crazy to just see the change. Because it's just such a wild place. You would never, if you went and moved there right now, you would just never know where your life would be in a year.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. It kind of depends on what you're going there for, and what your deal is. But it's amazing, There's a lot of
What year did you move there?
I moved there in 2015, actually. 2014, 2015. But I was in Boston before that.
Yeah.
And when I was in Boston, I was seeing someone in New York City, so I was there often.
A lot,
and I'd been going to New York like a lot since the like mid 2000s. So I've spent a lot of time there for quite a while. And I've been there. Living there for a little over 10 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
I've sort of become like cool with ASAP Ty.
Okay.
And he's New York guy, bike, like in the whole bike scene. I never knew that he was just like this crazy moto fan.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like fully watches all the Supercrosses. Like it's just fully up on the whole thing.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it too, but it's like that crossover of motorsports in general, like racy aesthetic and fashion and all of these things where it's like it's there. And it has been, it's always been there a bit.
To a point, yeah.
To a point,
yeah.
And like pop up here and there. But it's very consistently there now, which is cool to see. At times it feels a little like
cheap,
a little borrowed.
Yeah.
But it's there.
What's some of the stuff that's been done well from your end, like that in that
what
kind
I've
of crossover?
seen?
Yeah, like who's done it well?
You know who just did it again recently, but Yoji Yamamoto did the stuff with Despre. You know that Despre dude at all in London? He's done some really cool.
What do we have to look up?
Despre custom death.
Oh, death spray.
Yeah, death spray. Yoji Yamamoto did a Dainese collection in the mid 2000s, and it was sick. Really cool kind of moto stuff.
What would we go to?
Do Despre Y3. Yeah, all of this. This was Paris Fashion Week recently.
No way.
But it's this neighborhood Japanese brand. Y3, which is Yoji's Adidas stuff.
No shit, that's sick.
It's cool. It's cool. And the Despre dude, I forget his name, but he's super cool dude. I have friends that are friends with him, but he's a real dude that's been around for a long time. You should check out his stuff. He's been doing this for a minute, and they latched on to him to kind of like do this. But the Yoji stuff is very real too. When you look at a lot of Japanese stuff, they've been doing cool shit for longer than anybody. I'm actually going there Saturday. Saturday, but they do really good jobs of like dishing up cool fucking moto inspired or anything inspired thing and do it in kind of real way, even though any runway photo doesn't feel that authentic at times.
No, but I mean,
it's cool shit.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that looks like some sort of medieval helmet. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, that's some fucking shit.
Yeah. But there's been lots of cool stuff, and I've been super fortunate to do a lot of cool projects through my work in moto that has been sick. And
what's been your favorite one?
I mean, for me, we did Ducati last spring, which was like a dream project for me, obviously, because my first motorcycle ever was the Ducati, and then
it's the Ferrari of motorcycles.
Yeah, but that was a different time, and I wasn't this like head I am now, where I'm like trying to ride at the track, but it was that monster aesthetic. So it was that stripped down, kind of like no fairings, kind of tough, cool street bike.
Yeah.
When Matt Black was hitting hard in 2005, 2006, like that kind of vibe, like the trellis frame, that kind of stripped down look.
Go search that up, Supreme Ducati.
So yeah, we did this project, which was like, we had talked about it a long time ago. And
fuck.
Yeah, the bike turned out sick. I worked with
that turned out sick too.
Yeah, Aldo Drudy. We had Aldo Drudy help us. Who's the guy? He's kind of the god of like motorcycle livery design. He did all of Valentino's helmets through his history, and he does lots of MotoGP stuff. He does a lot of the Ducati inline bike design, just the livery on the fairings and everything. And worked with him on that, and we put a really cool collection together that like
that is so sick.
Really psyched on. Yeah.
Fuck.
So we've done a lot. We did the first moto thing. Actual bike was a 2020 Honda CRF 250. So that was super fun.
So how did those things come about? Like how did
what we're talking about? This crossover between like
that's so sick.
Moto the video we did for that one was actually really sick.
Go play that.
Yeah, try to see if there's Supreme Honda video. I don't know if it'll show up on YouTube.
Go down.
Yeah, I think you got to go do Supreme IG Honda. Maybe just a wider Google search though, because I don't know if you'll have to go back for decades on that. It's just
There's so much content.
Yeah, and people can't really pull our stuff usually. So it's I type IG at the end of that. Nah.
That's all good.
It's in the hills out here, dude, just ripping up a hill.
Who did it?
I forget who filmed it at that time, but it was a good clip of a dude just ripping up a hill until he couldn't anymore, and he just chucks the bike and like walks off. Not a classic one, like not a classic moto one, but like a kind of like all right, cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, we've done a lot of really cool shit in this moto space because of the kind of some of that overlap, and you know, we really like to kind of put things on the table to kind of introduce things to people in a real way, in an authentic way. And, it's been around, you know, even in New York City, the first kind of moto stuff that we've always done is Vanson, which is the leathers company, you know, but big, like, you know, looking back in that 2000s, like Rough Riders era.
Yeah.
That's just always been really important in like New York City fashion and shit, like cool leather jackets that look racy, you know, like it's always been cool to everybody, you know? So yeah, been really fortunate to do a lot of cool projects there for sure.
What do you think about the Travis Scott collab with Fox?
You know, is cool. My boy Tebow just shot the latest thing he did, whatever that shoe was. But he's the guy that shot Jet for the 100%. When he did the 8 in the desert.
Yeah, right.
Which, dude, 100%.
They crushed that.
100% has such an amazing design aesthetic. And Mark, who I've talked to and met, who's a great guy, they really have a cohesive and like sophisticated but real, authentic aesthetic in the sport. And that, there's one shot of that figure 8 from like a little off the ground, but low angle that is like stunning, dude.
Let's watch that. When this video came out, I was very impressed.
Yeah.
They really do have a dope aesthetic, bro.
And
that logo.
So Tebow, the guy that shot that, rips on a dirt bike. Like he's very about it.
Really?
Like, yeah, he's sick, and he does a lot of fashion shit.
Can you follow him after we finish watching this, Griff?
Yeah, Thibaut Gravet.
Yeah. I think this is the one, isn't it?
I think so. It's definitely on here too. But that's all that Travis Scott shit that just came out too.
Go back to his maybe, or which one is it?
Right to the left, right there. The stills.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
Click through that. Yeah. That, and I think there's a lower angle one too. Yeah, like that's like 2 connected shots. Like that right there. Sick.
That is so cool.
And that's the kind of stuff I feel like you don't see enough of.
Everything's so, like, I'll play the devil's advocate side of it. Like, there's just not enough, like, forethought and
time.
Yeah. Everything's so rushed and everything's so, like, we got to be done for this race. Got to be and I know guys that, and like I'm connected with the Alps guys, right? And it's just like they're so under the pump all the time, getting shit out that it's like they'd almost just have to be like a complete side division.
And I think that's kind of what it is at times, right? There isn't the.
It's not the priority.
I've only worked at companies. You know, I worked at Nike. I've worked at a lot of bigger places too, where rarely is there enough. There's like the separate little squad that has the freedom to kind of dive into all those things to let it go. Because same with A-Stars, I'm always wondering like, okay, that kit that Jet wore last weekend, how come I can't buy that? You know, like the thought that goes into getting those things done, you should be able to buy it if you want to, you know. But again, that's probably just like outside of a resource window, time window or something. But
yeah, and Moto's always been to where like the riders wear the new shit before it's out.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Kind of. Like,
yeah.
I think it would be cool as well. Like, I get messages all the time being like, fuck, how's this kit this weekend? And, you know.
Yeah.
And they just don't.
Well, it could be like you see it and then in short order, you're able to get it. You know what I mean? That build that kind of like.
Yeah. I think the Dirt Studio stuff at A1 was like a pretty massive
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool. They sold out a lot.
I really like that guy. If it looked very classic Moto. I understand it. And I remember when he just had a shop on Etsy, and I used to buy mad vintage Moto shit from him. He was always super cool. I really like that guy. But yeah, this was the...
Yeah. But yeah, even this isn't the 100% vibe.
No.
You know, like that. This is definitely like very traditional.
For sure.
You know?
And there's places for all those things, right? But and I think it comes back to this time thing that we're talking about. It's like there isn't the time, and we're working on a project, not at Supreme, but me and my buddies who are doing this little creative studio thing. We're working on a project right now where it's like already it's like you have to start making concessions based on time.
Yep.
Design compromise to what you know, and it's tough. It's really tough, and it's always there, but it's not impossible.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I just think it has to be. It's got to be like someone's full focus, and but yeah, I know even with the Dirt Studio stuff, it's like just the time, like just such a crunch.
It's him and who else, you know, to work on it. If he's doing all of it, you know.
Yeah, it's a huge job.
Design, communication, all that stuff. That's tough.
And then you're working with a huge brand, like Alpinestars as well. That's like
who's got a guy that makes every decision still.
Yes, which is crazy, eh?
Bro, I've one person for everything, which is something I know a lot about because that's how my boss is. But
yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's how you maintain something. Too,
that's a whole thing, eh?
Steep
dude.
trade-off, right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right. So it's like that for you guys too.
Yeah. The guy that started it is in charge of everything.
Fuck, that's so wild.
Yeah.
There's I mean, no, from my side, like running this business, like I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like I had to fully let go of that. But you have to have like people that you can really trust, and then there's been mistakes that get made, and then you have to be like okay with the mistakes, and like there's a level of accountability that you have to own other people's mistakes for a while to let them. But I mean, fuck, like with Supreme or Alpinestars, like I think the mistake would be, you know, like the mistake at that level is so different to like the mistakes that we would make it.
For sure. And I think that you can look at brands that are successful and stay kind of true to an ethos and an aesthetic and are real. Generally, I don't know. I don't know if you can say this about everything, but generally have someone really steering the ship with a tight grip on the wheel, you know, which is, can be really frustrating at times, but also it's a trade-off, you know. That's how it goes.
Apple, know? Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
I don't think he was letting much slip.
Totally, and
slip
famously
through.
Was a nightmare. But that's what happens when you work with someone that is running the show.
I think fashion, like the term fashion, like everything you wear is fashion.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's like this select part of fashion that is fashion.
Right.
That feels like worlds apart.
For sure.
You know, you'd obviously know more about that than me.
We get lumped into fashion, right? But this is a skate shop. It started as a skate shop. It's a skate brand. And because of because of what it's been aesthetically, it's gotten to a bigger place, and it just happens for brands like that sometimes. But we're not a fashion brand, but we easily get put in that category at times.
Maybe that's how it should be, though, right? Like maybe that's where the label, like it's an earned label. It's not something that you can go after.
Yeah.
In a sense, do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, and it's a timing thing, and a thing that a popular culture thing, because we did Louis Vuitton in like 2018, which definitely cracked that conversation in the kind of bigger picture, popular culture. So, once you kind of go down that road, and then, if your brand gets big, and it's not all skate kids buying the shit, so it becomes something different.
Right,
and that's totally fine.
There's a thing in our gym of dudes wearing Supreme tees that are like fully cut off.
Really?
Yeah.
Like from the top to the bottom.
Yeah. I'm like, bro, that's a fucking real expensive t-shirt, dude. But it's like, and there's like the same dudes with the same haircuts, and they're like wearing the same. I'm like, oh man, that's
well, that's the thing. It's a wide reach now, man.
Yeah, it's so that dude does not skate.
No, you sure does.
So yeah, it's like I wonder if like that whole, if you're trying to be quote unquote fashion, like it's very hard to be fashion. It's one of those. It's like an earned tag in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of the reason I say that is because you see fashion brands doing like bootleg race aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
And then to see an actual racing brand do a kind of a bootleg fashion is kind of like, I don't know. Without splitting hairs on it, it's like you could still
just do
lean fashion, but stay that racy moto shit, know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But like, I mean, dude, you see Drake was wearing an Alpinestars chest protector for like an entire tour.
For sure.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah,
like that is so
There's
crazy.
a photo of him wearing a bootleg, I don't know who did it. It was probably a like wacky young design kid from wherever, like a bootleg Rossi leather jacket, like said Big 46 on the back.
Try to find it. Just be like, Drake.
I don't know where
Alpinestars
this thing came
Drake.
from, but
yeah, go to images, dude.
Yeah, I didn't see that jacket, but yeah,
look, Alpinestars jacket. He's running I literally have that same chest protector.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like that,
but that kind of like utility. There's the racy thing, and then there's kind of that like weird dark utility vibe of having like protection stuff on. Like that's
like protecting you from nothing.
No, it's kit. It's having kit on, right? Which is like people like that.
Go to that one with the Reddit post. Go left. Dude, just bought like the whole shit.
Yeah.
That's so wild to me, dude.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
That is crazy. That's like wild brand equity too.
For sure.
Like he's just buying that shit. Like he's not calling fucking Jose and being like, hey bro, I'm going on tour. I need 3 sets of fucking.
Totally.
That's just a dude buying your shit and
wearing
it on a world tour.
Multiple people that do that just for a living, just get stuff for him to wear. Yeah. I like know somebody that did that for a while. And
for him?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Fuck, so just
wasn't super fun.
Oh, I bet. That would be the worst, dude. Imagine having to be around that guy.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, you see all this stuff all the time now, and it's not as like piecemeal as it used to be. It doesn't show up in these like little ways. Sometimes it's like there, It's cool. The Tebow kid that shot the jet stuff does
go to his Insta real quick.
Mad fashion stuff.
Yeah, go to that dude's. Yeah. And
he just did. He shot the Ducati stuff for us too.
Yeah.
He's got a very cool specific.
Where's he from?
He's French. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very French name.
Yeah. Yeah. that chick clip on that. We both went to Le Mans together. This was after we shot the Ducati stuff in Milan. We went to go see.
I know exactly where he shot that photo.
You've been there.
I have the same photo on film. Like,
you went to Le Mans?
Yeah. Not like I went a couple years ago,
but for the GP race?
Yeah.
It's fucking insane,
bro. One of the wildest experiences. We went there 2021 or 22. Was it 22? First event in France back from COVID. Broke the national sporting record. There was 500,000 people there, bro. It was fucking mental.
That's
one of
crazy.
the craziest experiences. Jack got second.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that, and you shot that project with. Yeah. That was super cool.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
Yeah.
I remember that vividly now because you guys had you were driving back and forth between Paris and there.
Yeah.
Staying in Paris.
Yeah.
Oh man,
we were so fucking bro. That was the most hectic trip. So we landed in Paris, got a rental car, drove to our Airbnb. We wanted to just stay in the city. I was just so sick of flying to all these races and doing all this cool shit and just staying in some back ass hotel near the track and being an hour and a half from Paris and never going and enjoying Paris. And I was like, fuck that. I'm going to eat up the drive an hour and a half each way and we're going to stay in Paris. And so, we stayed like right by the Louvre and that whole kind of area. But yeah, every day, dude, I was rinsed, bro. And we were going back and forward. Then we went from Le Mans to Andorra to stay with Jack.
Dude, tax haven.
Bro, yeah. But the drive took like 12 hours because we took this wrong fucking turn, got lost. Like, dude, that was the funnest trip. And then we went to Barcelona for the F1.
Oh,
and
damn.
like where Danny was there and racing. And
Yeah.
like we just hung and it was
That's cool.
Then we rode little Vales at Sete Gibonau's house, like the Monday after the race.
Yeah.
Like, that was a sick trip.
Dude, that's amazing. Yeah, I've been to quite a few MotoGP races, and we always go to Mugello every year, me and some friends, and that's always crazy. But Le Mans was psycho.
French are fucking, they're savages.
And that you can tell there's just like a built-in audience at that venue because of all the events that go down there.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's just like endless camping all around it. So at night is the most insane part of the show. Like on Saturday night, there's people in the grandstands until 10 p.m. And then I was walking to my car and I mean, just, the dudes that just have like the 2-stroke engines not attached to anything. Just
Yeah.
endlessly,
Yeah.
And it's like the closest thing to this like Mad Max like craze I've ever witnessed.
It's like Woodstock. Like straight Woodstock vibe at Le Mans.
But definitely turned up,
Yeah.
And maybe the alcohol drugs offset is pitched to the alcohol.
Yeah. Alcohol and race gas.
Exactly. Yeah.
50-50 ratio.
Fumes, for sure.
There's dudes that bury V8 car engines.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they camp in the same spot every single year.
Yeah.
And they dig up the engine and they're just doing fucking key bangers, dude. Just like 4 a.m. at night.
That's crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah, Joe was talking about that. What race was he talking about? Mugello. He said Mugello last year because he won Mugello.
Yeah. Wait, no. Did he?
Yeah, he won Mugello last year. Yeah, he on the Moto 2.
Yeah. I was there.
You were there?
Yeah.
And you didn't know that?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm tripping.
Yeah. He said that he couldn't stay at the track. He got like this little quaint little like little Airbnb out of the town because he's like, dude, they just blast fucking techno till 4 a.m. every morning.
And it's like stunning rolling hills, Tuscan delight. Like we stay at this little villa every year that's like this so old. It's all stone. There's a pool, massive yard, and it's just like trank.
Really?
No, you can't see any other houses, and it's not expensive. It's crazy. It's gorgeous.
How far is it from the track?
20 minutes, and we fly in, we get rental car to the spot and then get a ride to Florence to pick up scooters, and then we just scoot back and forth. Yeah, because the traffic gets pretty hectic. But yeah, that's half the fun too, is just scooting around. Because you can scoot inside the track there. So it's like where all those insane lunatics, the hill people, as they're called. Yeah. Because there's that big hill where everybody camps on. And you can scoot around inside the place. So it's sick.
I think I'm going to go this year.
You should go. I'll be there.
I'm in. Yeah. I think we're going to do a little Euro stint.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
Want to really try and talk to more of the GP dudes.
Dude, it's so cool. It's such it's a great time right now too. I think, it's like perfect time for things to kind of like spike. I think it's such great racing.
It's probably hard to argue against Supercross.
Yeah,
at the minute.
It's very different.
Yeah, right? But dude, last year that title fight was just crazy.
Yeah,
like that was one of the best MotoGP seasons that I've ever seen. And you don't have the parity in motorcycles Supercross is probably the only sport that has like a real legitimate parity in motorcycles and manufacturers.
Totally.
But last year,
also I was talking about someone out in the desert this week. A regular person won't really know the difference between a floor model 450 and a factory race spec 450. If you're ahead, you know the suspension, you know the deal. But it's more 1-to-1, it's more a regular product. MotoGP's like spaceships.
Yeah, literally. It's like one's a plane that doesn't fly. Yeah. And the other's a bike that you can ride on the street.
Yeah, totally.
So, but as far as like the racing and the just the level that those dudes are at as athletes is just fucking crazy.
I think if you could peel 25% of Formula One fans into watching a MotoGP race, they'd be hooked, because the racing is so fun. And you're watching a human like navigate a machine, and it's visceral and out in the open. Formula One's insane, but you see a little head, and like it's not the same, So there's just and there's a lot that they could do to kind of improve the show a little bit, I think, too. Even looking at some Supercross shit where it's like they could kind of like, adapt it, evolve it in a way where it's a little bit more engaging in some ways. But the product is better. The racing's amazing. And it's scary what these dudes do,
Crazy, bro. Jorge Martin yesterday.
You see that crash? I watched it once. I can't handle seeing stuff like that.
Really?
And I've had a lot of injuries, so I get like a weird
bit of PTSD kicks in.
Yeah, it's like you ever go to like a restaurant or a place where that has like the little ice chippy things, and you're like, oh, it's hospitalized. I don't like that. Yeah. We got one of those at work lately, and I'm like, I'm not fucking touching that.
I fuck with that. The hospitalized.
No, but it's that crash was crazy, and they watching the test stuff too. They were really playing it. It was almost looped a little bit, which I was like, okay, I get it. Like, and that's something I think when I watch Supercross and when they'll do the intro to the race weekend, they do that recap of the previous race weekend. They show the crashes, they show the beef, they kind of tease some of those elements at the beginning of each race weekend to kind of get you a little refreshed and kind of like engaged. Whereas if you watch MotoGP, like they don't do that. They kind of do a more, I don't know, just I don't want to say bland, but it's like kind of like
it's just so formulaic
intro, know?
Yeah. I'm down to get in the weeds on all this. Like
100%.
What do you like just top level, what do you think MotoGP can do to be better in that respect?
Some of that stuff, some of kind of just it's tricky because I know that it's easy to pick it apart you know? And actually, there's not a lot to pick apart. They do a really good job, and it's pretty premium, too. There's times like testing right now when you watch the testing broadcast, and it's a different team this season too, because they have new people involved. Simon Crafar, the sick Aussie, or not Aussie, excuse me, Simon, and New Zealander dude is now in charge of all the rules. Like he's like the main marshal of all the rules, and he was the head that was on the ground, like talking about all the tech stuff.
He was amazing.
He's so sick.
God, he's amazing.
I love him, and I love his voice. In fact, my boy Ryan does the best Simon Crafar, because you know how he's always off screen?
Yeah.
And then it's like the dude's in the booth, and he's always like, guys. And my buddy Ryan does it perfectly, where he's always trying to chime in on some tech shit. He's like, guys.
Yeah.
But he's the best, but he's no longer a part of the broadcast. So they got these two younger kids that, you know, they're feeling it out. It's tough, right?
He's just iconic, bro. And I've learned so much from MotoGP about him.
For sure. And he's an ex-racer, you know, so that brings so much to it. To me, I just think that there could be, and, you know, being friends with a lot of those kids, they're not going to love me saying this, but there could be some attention paid to, and I don't want to say incite, but stir things up a little bit more in the paddock. It's kind of missing kind of older like beefs a little bit. And is it fair to say that people that are pretty friendly to each other shouldn't be? Not really. It is what it is, right? I think that's always kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes you get that, sometimes you don't. And there's definitely personalities in that paddock to go that way. We'll see. You never know. And I think there could just be a little bit more finite attention paid to some of the riders, and kind of dish it up in a way that's not just a typical broadcast all the time. But I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of blurring like what I picture in kind of like a docu-series in a broadcast. And I don't want to bring up the F1 docuseries that's the constant barometer, right? It's like, that's why F1's popular now, and it's because of that. It's part of it for sure, but I think all parties, F1 included, could kind of include more of that into the weekly broadcast or the race event broadcast, you know, and not to say that you're trying to make it into some wild shit, but I think it could evolve, and both a lot of series could kind of like lean into, okay, these docu-series things are cool for a reason and get people engaged for a reason. How do we bring some of that in? And then I think some of it too is, you know, a lot of people have been around this stuff for a long time and maybe don't quite understand the new realities with what gets people's and keeps people's attention. And I mean Dorna is, hopefully it's changing with the Liberty thing, which isn't 100% yet, I don't think, but I think that there's ways to kind of evolve things so that it is a little bit more just a little bit newer, you know. I don't have that figured out. It's tricky. It's really tricky.
I agree with everything, really.
And the paywall thing's a whole other thing, right? For everything. So how do you do that inside of how do you get kids in the United States, a 17-year-old in New York City, to want to watch MotoGP? He might watch Drive to Survive and like that, but how do you have to do something like that? I don't think that's a one-to-one example of how do you get that kid, but I think there's it's tricky, you know?
Yeah. And I think part of me thinks that the Drive to Survive thing's kind of over.
Right.
You know, like we've got Drive to Survive 4 or 5 seasons of it. We've got the Tour de France one. Yeah. We've got the
kind of any
quarterbacks, wide receiver. Yeah. Like they went fuck, this really hit. And
Yeah.
they just done it and done it and done it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so many I haven't watched. I love golf. I haven't watched their series.
Yeah.
You know, so I think some people, even in Supercross, they're like, we just need this drive to survive thing. Don't know.
Yeah, that was a timing thing too,
Yeah,
right?
I just don't know that I think we missed the boat. I think Supercross is crazy enough, you know, and it's got wild personalities. Like, I wonder with MotoGP if they have the personalities that can sustain it. I mean, you probably know more of the guys than I do.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they have the personalities in there. They've got like 10 Spanish kids.
Right.
Well,
it's all Spanish.
That all grew
Italian.
up racing.
Yeah.
Together. They're all tight. They travel together. Like, they've kind of got the sport is different in that sense to like a Formula One that's got a lot of different nationalities.
Yeah.
All of the teams are based in England.
I know. Well, that's a huge factor.
Like, I think that's one of and dude, I'm saying all of this as like the biggest MotoGP fan.
Yeah.
And like, I fucking want it to go the way that F1 is going. Again, best racing.
Yeah.
That and Supercross, best motorsport racing on planet Earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like that's something holding them back, is that just so much of the broadcast is defined by the languages.
For sure.
That it's either Italian or it's Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, and you've even got some of the biggest stars in the sport that their English isn't amazing in the same way that like the F1.
For sure. Well, look, we have an American team in MotoGP now.
With no American rider.
With no American rider. That's a whole can of worms. I don't. That's one I've spoken about and thought about a lot. But they have a very successful NASCAR team that has big money.
Justin Marks is a fucking G, dude.
Well, but how is he not able to peel a NASCAR sponsor off? The MotoGP team has almost no sponsors. That has a Gulf oil sticker on it this year, and then
pull up Trackhouse 2025. No.
I'm gonna do a roast here in a second.
No, hey, this is all out of love and kindness and respect. Hey, go that way. It's a bit. You're creeping.
First,
the color.
Wow.
As a designer,
click on that. Okay, leave it right here. Leave it right here. This kills me in a way because I'm such a big fan and I love this. And to see an American team on the grid, amazing. This is their 2025 livery. You can split hairs on the design of the bike or whatever. Look at the white sheeting on the ground that's bunched. And like, bro.
You could Photoshop that.
You could Photoshop that or you could just not have it
properly.
But also, if you zoom in on this, and I don't know if you can.
Yeah, we can. Griff's got you.
Okay, so go up a little higher. So, okay, there's a seam. See where the Trackhouse logo is on the side? Mm-hmm. See that seam between the fairings?
Yeah.
So they put vinyl over the previous, some fairings, and you can see the fairing bolt is under the vinyl. So it's just, this looks like a club racer inherited $1 million and bought a MotoGP bike. Sorry, that's a...
Hey,
sorry, Justin.
No. Look, it's all love.
Yeah, totally.
Sometimes criticism comes from a place of love.
And hey, I think that it's not an easy proposition what they're trying to do.
No,
it's not.
And it's year 2.
Joe Roberts was on here yesterday.
Yeah,
they did not put him on the bike. And
crazy.
Did he talk about it?
Yeah. What's your take?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know the situation. I don't know how much Aprilia said, here's who's riding your bike.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know if that was it. And then you could split hairs on that too, because it's not just about who sits on the bike. It's like, what money do they bring? Because personal sponsors often,
contribute.
Yes. And yeah, I think even if you walk away from who's better rider as an American team, to put an American on the bike for 1 year, that would have a bigger result. Park the results. That would be a bigger story. And when they launched and they have 2 guys sitting on a Star-Spangled bike, it was cool at first when it was like a Nicky Hayden riff of his old Ducati livery. But then they changed it and it wasn't as cool, and it's still this like American flag bike with the Portuguese kid and a Spanish kid. Like, cool, I get it. You got to get the right riders to do the job, but also, they're not breaking down the walls of the championship. It's tricky.
And what a crazy opportunity! You actually have an American rider, good looking.
I was just gonna bring
like
he was just
he's a fucking good looking kid.
He is.
He's so cool. Like, I am gonna try and be his friend.
Yeah.
I met him yesterday.
Yeah.
Gonna be his friend from now on. What a fucking nice.
Totally.
Such an
interesting
nice guy.
Story too.
Super cool.
Interesting
dude.
Story. He's done a lot. He had the opportunity to get on Aprilia when Aprilia was shit. And I think kind of wisely didn't. He didn't want to do it. It didn't seem right. And he might have done it, and that might have been it after 1 year for him. And he wouldn't even be in the championship. Who knows? But I think that them not doing it, and this is completely outsider point of view, but like that would have been.
Well, you're an American fan.
Yes, exactly.
Like, it's a fairly legitimate point of view.
Yeah, for sure. And that, to think about what that would have done for Austin to go to that race, because Joe did really good in that race and people were losing it. And there's not a million people at that race, There's, that gets back into what we were talking about. It's like, well, there's only one race in the US. So, how do you expect to build on that? It's a tricky proposition to get people to just tune in, chuck $100 into the air to pay for a paywall
one time.
Yeah.
For one US race.
Well, or you can't expect them to want to watch a whole series. You might get them to want to go to a race, but how can there be another race? The F1 gets to go race in the middle of cities. You know, the tricky thing with the US is they're building some world-class venues right now, but in the middle of nowhere. How do you get someone to want to go there? Or, how it's tricky. You can't just set shit up in a metropolitan area that kind of that does the fact that it's Austin and you go spend your time in the city after you're at the race all day. You can build on that, and I think they maybe don't do the best job of that. They should. Have you been there for the race? All those kind of grassy hills and stuff kind of before the straight, they should just let anyone who wants to come not pay any money and come hang out and sit in the grass. They're going to spend money on food. They're going to,
this is great. This is honestly great. Like, this is
like that's the kind of thing where if, I think that certain races, Mugello suffered from the first year of Valentino wasn't at the race. The tickets were really expensive, and there was a huge drop off of attendance. And then the following year, they lowered the prices. And there's certain places, I think Assen and maybe a couple other rounds, where they're like, anyone under 16 free. There's things that you can do that are like not rocket science. But again, this is a financial endeavor. Of course, there's going to be these, and it depends on the venue to kind of
play ball,
figure out what those things are going to be, price wise. But I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, the Joe Roberts thing hurts me, especially after, like talking to him yesterday and just the story and how cool of a dude he is and how passionate that he was and how close he thought he was to getting that ride as well. Yeah. And it sounds like it kind of derailed his championship in a way. Yeah. Because he kind of just like put a lot of focus and attention into getting that ride. But I mean, just you've got a young, good looking, fast as fuck American rider. The only one. He's the only one. And they're the only one.
And timeline wise too, you know,
And it's just lined up.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Well, all those kids that are professional racers were on top of having to perform in this insane way. They're always having to think about, not even before mid-season, shit, what am I doing next year? You know, so exactly what you just brought up, him doing so well and then having this question mark looming of maybe finally making the step and then having an injury, you know, then it all kind of didn't go great. But
yeah,
how can you blame him? Like, how do you know, all these getting, you know, it's crazy to think about. And even what's going on in Supercross right now, watching Jet and following what your coverage of this stuff, it's like, you know, mentally Jet kind of seemed like he was a little off this season. And you can talk about why that is, whatever. He's how old? Like
20.
Exactly.
21 now. Yeah.
Like
so
being
young.
this athlete, but then also not being an adult yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that kind of uncertainty on top of all this. And that's why it's really interesting to me too, is like, you know, the kind of the aesthetics and Doohan with his gear, like all of them with their gear, and like, oh, my first tattoo is a hand tattoo, like shit like that, where it's like, yo,
bro.
you're like, guy.
Yeah, that one's a tough one for me.
Yeah. But you know, you're watching these kids, these athletes deal with all this stuff, and then on top of that, trying to like
navigate
be
who
a
they
person,
even
or
are.
like
Yeah.
find like who are they? And I think some of that stuff shows like this season, like little cracks in the armor at times, because shit, that's a lot for them to deal with, you know?
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing that it was like kind of a bummer about the Joe Roberts thing, is like, 27, he's too old.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah.
27? It's too old.
But these are the metrics to what these people that are making decisions are using, you know. Same thing with Top Rack right now too, where they're like this generational talent who couldn't be more entertaining on anything, and they're like, hey, he's getting a little old for MotoGP. He's like,
how old is he?
It's like 27.
Fuck. That's so fucked.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like if you're someone at MotoGP, you have to be like, hey guys, no. That's not, we can't be aging people out at 27. We can't be cutting down our potential rider base at 20. They're still a child. Like you're barely getting your shit together at 27.
Yeah.
Like we just can't be playing this like 16-year-old. Like that's never going to happen. And I think that that's probably, if I think about it now, Supercross is in maybe its best era ever. And you've got Eli, 32, Kenny, 31, Coop is 30, Barsha, 30, Anderson, 30. Like you've actually got adults on the fucking start line.
Right.
Like real men that have real lives and are real people and fully know who they are at this stage in their life. We've just seen generation after generation retire at 27 in our sport. And it's like, they don't even really know who they are yet.
Right.
So you can't build this personality and you can't build around the sport around these people because they're almost not people yet.
Well, they get defeated, right? And even though they're highly successful, they hit a ceiling, probably more mentally than anything, where they're like, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
I'm good. I have money. I don't need to do this. And the Supercross thing's the most amazing physics gamble of health possible, you know? And I've heard you talk about this, but they should get 1 or 2 test days a week, tops. I'm not a math scientist, but I can tell you it doesn't make sense for the sport to have them ripping motos all day, every day, with the exception of 2 days a week. You know, it's crazy.
Oh, you're just dancing with the devil, dude.
It's crazy.
And like McAdoo's out. What's the injury list right now? ACL for McAdoo, ACL for Jet. Who else is out in the 450 class? Have we lost?
I haven't
else
seen the Jet thing.
Prado's out. You haven't seen the Jet thing?
No, don't pull it. No, don't pull it. I don't want to watch it. Bad?
Not really. Just put his foot out.
Yeah.
But yeah. So,
but what's your quick take on that? Do you feel like that is just a weird turn of physics, or do you think it's kind of what we were just talking about a minute ago, where it's like he's a little?
No, I just think that that's purely just racing. Yeah. It's just a bummer. Like, I actually think did you follow everything that happened with those boys?
Yeah, totally.
So like,
I talked to Jet for a minute because I gave when Tom Jernette was living with Ando in Florida, I seen a photo of Jet with like this bootleg Supreme backpack, and I hit up Tom. I was like, bro, let me send this dude a box of stuff. I can't have him. I can't have him with
the bootleg
and,
shit.
And we talked for a little while, and he's super cool kid. And my girl's Aussie, and I go there all the time. And so seeing that story happen is amazing. I love it. It's so cool, and they seem really cool.
Yeah,
Hunter seems really cool.
They're good people.
I talked to him for a minute at Austin one year. But yeah, it's a cool situation, and like I want to see
them succeed
100%.
Yeah. Well, I just think, did you follow the whole thing with their agent?
Oh,
and everything that came out.
You know what's funny about that? I followed that dude for a minute just because he was their agent. After about 1 week, I was like, this dude sucks, and I smashed it. Smashed a delete on that guy. Like, he just seemed like a prick.
Yeah, I won't comment too hard on that.
Sorry.
But yeah, I think that I was like saying things without saying things, because like you're obviously trying to. It was a weird position to be in, because I was on the one side seeing a lot of stuff that I just like wholeheartedly didn't agree with, and there was some directions that things were going, and I just I was like just sitting on the sideline being like, this fucking sucks, dude. Like, you're ruining this. And you could see it, and the mentality, and you could see like at media day, and there was like just interviews, and you'd hear things from there's so much like behind the scenes stuff that doesn't get said. And the frustrating thing for me, I'm trying to think how to say it. It's like, sometimes not saying a thing feels like lying.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'm just sitting here like not saying a bunch of shit. And I just felt like I was lying by not saying a bunch of shit. But then you're just trying to protect relationships. You're trying to, for sure. I'm like, they're fucking great people, like, so, and it's like, you don't want to do it in public, and, but anyway, you're in a weird position where like people look at you as like a media outlet and a journalist, and then it's like, fuck. Like, I'm really not being a hardcore journalist right now, because I'm not saying a bunch of shit that I know to be true,
Yeah, but I mean, there's one thing about just doing that, but you're also you're running a business, and it's layered.
Yes, it's complicated.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of what I was alluding to when I was saying that, like, I don't think they're in a great spot. I don't think that mentally that I think they were dealing with that. And I had a feeling that it would come to a bit of a head at some point this year, but I didn't think it was going to be like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, and dude, the first couple rounds we were watching, like, we're in here doing the fucking recaps and shit, and I'm like, they look good. Like, mentally, they felt like I hadn't seen that version of them for a while. Just like very free.
Yeah.
Jet seemed back mentally to where I know that he should be.
Yeah.
Hunter was the same. The interviews were fucking cool. Press stuff was cool. I was like, dude, this is sick. Like, maybe I was wrong.
Right.
But they'd kind of just already dealt with that in the weeks before,
Yeah, I think, the harsh reality with doing that well and having the spotlight on you that hard comes with a lot of the potential for those kinds of things to happen, you know, whether it's that or, you know, multitudes of things, you know. I'm sure they're dealing with crazy shit all the time because of that, you know, but not great.
I'm glad that has been put behind him, though, in a sense, you know,
for sure.
Like, hopefully it doesn't drag on or there's no more. And there's a lot to that story. Like,
I'm sure
as
there
well.
is.
Like, even I don't want to come across, because I actually haven't even spoke about this at all.
Okay.
But I don't want to come across like, oh yeah, everything that got said on both sides is like, or everything that got said on their side is true. Or like, I'm not even taking a stance on that. Like, I don't know. But there was like a lot of other shit,
I'm sure,
that was going on that I did know about. And I'm like, ugh, that's not good.
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stuff, like the Deegan Australia thing. And I was like, ugh, there's some, I don't know.
Yeah.
This isn't the move. And so, yeah, anyway, I'm not like taking a position on any of that shit. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about.
Right.
But there's a lot of stuff I do. And I think that just what happened in like a big split seemed like inevitable.
Right.
One way or the other.
Did they talk about it at Glendale at all on air?
Nah.
See, these are the things, whereas, like, you know, what we're talking about, like how...
Oh, did they talk about?
No, they came out with something before A2. They said they wouldn't like answer anything.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, so, but did they say it on the broadcast? See?
But these are the kinds
so
of...
protected, dude.
Well, for sure. And, well, yeah. Going to A1 too, it was interesting we were trying to get some media credentials just to shoot some just kind of like tunnel shit, behind the scenes shit, not for any real purpose. And they were like, you guys don't really we can't let you do this. But before, and I got it, but they were being super cool anyway. But reading the media shit, there's a dress code.
Oh yeah, dude. I wore camo pants the other day, and do I have any pictures of it? I just wore like a black t-shirt and camo long pants that I bought from Bass Pro Shop, because I was like, you know what, I'm fucking so sick of this shit, like wearing pants every time.
They give you shit?
I thought they would.
They didn't.
No, they didn't. But as soon as I walked in, AC was just like, bro, you're rocking camo pants, and I'm like, ugh, I'm kind of over it, dude.
Well, do you feel like there's an impending situation? And I'm not trying to like stir the pot here.
No.
Do you feel like you will butt heads with Feld at some point over something? I'm not a big deal, but something like that, you know, because I know you talk about, hey, you've brought a few things up that they didn't love, and they've let you know that, you know, like you are trying to do journalistic work and like talk about what's unfolding, and sometimes
people don't like that.
They don't like that, but. Also, just what we were talking about with the Mirtl shit, if they would have talked about that on the broadcast, you know, that's the kind of shit where it's like, hey, these are current events.
This is real shit.
Is a big deal.
Yeah.
And we got Jet and we got Deegan. These are the crucial people in this sport. And it's like, oh, don't talk about that. You know, it's like, well, shit.
I wonder, first of all, I feel like I have a really good relationship with Feld.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just going to fucking pat myself on the dick, but I feel like I have a very genuine love for the sport and the things that I do.
Right.
And that's why I think I feel comfortable to criticize things, and, you know, like the Trackhouse. It's like, Justin Marks is a fucking G.
For sure.
I have like so much respect for that dude.
I don't know anything about NASCAR, but the one dude that went around the outside, hit the wall, you know.
Kills it, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think about it in terms of, I guess it's a good way to say it, is like by sometimes not saying a thing, you're like lying to a person.
Yeah.
So I always go at this shit with that as like my behind me, like, hey, I just need to tell you how I feel. I'm going to be as respectful as I possibly can when I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to tell you what I think is right. And that's coming from a place of like honesty and integrity, and like I actually give a fuck.
Well,
And that's why I'm going to say this.
I think that you have a real relationship with those people too, who have a real relationship with this sport. And so if you do piss them off, it's not going to be a completely transactional conversation. They're going to be like, hey, there's a relationship there. Yes. So they're not going to just like hit you with an email that says, you won't be attending this next, you know what I mean? Which is cool. But that's something as I'm watching you toe the line at times. I'm like, I wonder if he's thinking about that at times.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's been anything like concrete. But I mean, they're honestly like really cool. But I mean, I like, for example, at Glendale, I spoke to Sean Brennan, who's like the press. Yep. He's like the press manager of like press and media manager. I spoke to him for an hour and 10 minutes.
Nice.
Just gave him as much information as I possibly could on things that have worked for us, things that I think that they could do better, things that I would be down to help them with if they need. I'm like, do you need extra help? Do you need this? Do you want us to do this? Like, can I? So I think when you're doing that, it kind of helps.
For sure.
Like because it is like an actual real relationship. And if he told me that I couldn't wear my camo pants, then I fucking wouldn't. But I think that's more for just people on the track. Like I don't actually go on the track.
For sure.
These days.
Yeah, and that's a different thing. But I think that's what you're just talking about is a really interesting thing, because I've been kind of trying to do the same thing too. We're talking to some people in MotoGP, and it's tricky to try to politely say, hey, if you guys ever want some outside help, which is really tricky because I think a lot of times that's taken as like, oh, I can't do my job. And it's like, no, you can definitely do your job. You're amazing. But, this is a more nuanced scenario than it has been previously in all things, I think, and looking to outside help for consulting, whatever you want to call it, is very helpful. We use lots of freelancers because they're not in the day-to-day and they don't have the same like mental guardrails around like creative stuff that we do, and that's very helpful. And like in all things, when you are so roped in and in the weeds on stuff, often the most simple things are the biggest, and that's like can go so far, and I think that Supercross, MotoGP, all of these things could really, not that they're not open to it, but they could use some of that, that kind of trusting, like, oh shit, I wonder what some other people think about this at times,
Yeah, and I think that when you understand the constraints that people work within as well. Yeah. Like I think that the last couple of seasons being a bit more, like before that I had 5 years in Australia on a fucking island and I was just calling it how I saw it.
Yeah.
And it was very direct and it was very blunt. And I knew a bunch of the people from years past, but like I knew really well the Sean Brennan before Sean Brennan because that's when I was here previously, And so you can just have this like outside in vision of like, you could do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should do this. But then when you get to know, you get back and you get behind the curtain a little bit and you see the people and you understand the personalities and you know who this person reports to and who that person reports to and what that guy's like. And then you go, okay, well, that would have to come out of this budget, which gets released by this guy. So I think once you get a bit more of a like holistic view of the entire thing, you realize like it's not that he hasn't thought of this.
For sure.
It's that he doesn't know, but it's like that's a hard thing to navigate. Like that isn't just a click your fingers type decision,
sure. People are always, you have to prioritize what's possible, right? And if you're on the inside, you have a list of things that you're trying to accomplish, Jason Dan hitting you with a text saying, hey, what if we did this? They're going to be like, yeah, okay.
Cool, man. yeah.
But, there's, I think the point is that, you're making is like, we do see both sides of it, know?
Yeah.
And,
And things get better too, like the press conferences.
Yeah.
Like I went last year, that was my biggest thing. I was like, okay, I am a huge fan of the UFC. The thing they do the best is the press conference.
Right.
Must-see viewing, every main card. It's leveraged to the fucking max.
Yeah.
Like, nailed it. Supercross,
Yeah.
barely a thing. Bunch of the media don't go to it. No, it's like an afterthought. It's a pain in the ass. You look from the outside in and think like they don't even care about this. And
Right.
Sean fucking was like trying to get it going. But it's like he's not the guy in the thing asking the questions.
Right.
So like he can encourage people to come. He can tell people where it is. He can do all those things, but he's the guy that works for Feld that has the task of organizing it, and then no one shows up.
Yeah.
So like this is a huge thing in Supercross, right? So like people, this is why the press conference has never been good in Supercross when it should be, right? Because you get Steve Mathis, Don Mayetta, fucking all the big guys. They're not in the post-race press conference.
Yeah.
Why? Because they want to go get their own scoop. They want to go to the truck and they
Right.
want to stand there and that's like their thing and that's what they want to do. It's like a very selfish endeavor. There's nothing that they're doing there that is with the picture of like helping the sport, growing the sport, making that product look good for
Yeah.
people, right? And so they don't go to the press conference.
Yeah. Has that shifted this year?
They're trying.
Yeah.
I think it's shifted.
But with those guys particular, like those
No,
guys.
they don't. They still
still
don't do
don't.
it. No, but it has, like, because I went there and bro, there was a time Parla last year at the first round of the outdoors. It was me. That's it. And I think one other dude came in after. I was just literally, it was just like a Q&A
Yeah.
at the press conference. And it's in fucking California. I get it if it's like, like a Unadilla or something. It's like not that, that's kind of a shitty
Right.
race to get to, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's fucking Parla
Yeah.
where everyone is. And no one showed up to do it. They're all sitting there behind on laptops. It was the craziest shit, dude. And so I'm just sitting there by myself doing the press conference. Steve Mathis is behind me. Fucking everyone else is behind me. No one's asking shit. We got a fuck ton of views on it.
I bet.
Like it's good content. Like what are you people? You're wasting this opportunity.
You could have done like a character press conference where you're like,
could have just done, yeah.
Jace, and then the next one you're like, Steve Mathis here from.
yeah. But that's what.
Yeah.
But that's like I guess I'm trying to say like that's the challenges
Right.
that Supercross faces.
Right.
So it's like they can set up the pins, and there's no one that wants to bowl the ball down the lane to knock the pins over.
Right.
And I think that this year it's changed a bit. Like there's a lot more people in there. We were the first ones to I've like filmed me asking the question, and then we filmed the like no one had ever done
Yeah.
that.
No, it's been cool to see. I mean, I think that it's that people just showing up, but then also even if they're still not showing up, it's going to take that one moment where two dudes had it on the track and then they're sitting next to each other, and then that continue. It needs some of that spice to kind of like for them to be like, oh, missed that. That was huge. You know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's not to say that it's out of people's hands, but if more people are there, look at the way that Deegan's ramping up on the camera. He's going to be ramping up in those post-race press conferences, and it's like that's shit that needs to be seen. You know?
And it does well.
Yeah.
Like it's done super well for us. But more and more people have started doing it. Feld started doing it. And so, like to go back, I was talking to Sean for like probably an hour the other day. And I'm like, all right, I know both sides of this. I know your side. I know their side. There's probably a way where you need to be like, hey, it's done.
Yeah.
Once the main event goes, you can't talk to a rider by yourself for a soundbite at all. You need to do it in the press conference.
Yeah.
But as I said to them, I was like, well, I'm going to play the other side where I ask a sick question in the press conference. You guys clip it straight away, put it on your socials. It gets a lot of views and we don't get anything out of it.
Right.
So it's like there's got to be understand what people want out of these things.
Yeah.
And like, let's cater to all of that. So I think there's a meeting in Tampa that they're going to have about it.
Some sort of compromise, that kind of, some sort of trade-off where it's like, okay, cool, you guys have to do this. You'll get this too.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like,
But I think that's the type of shit that it takes, like it takes both sides. So I guess that's like a bit of inside baseball for like the way that at least I'm trying to like help. So I mean, I hope that because I put in the effort and because I'm like really genuinely trying to help, I can say like that shit's fucking lame.
Yeah,
and
totally.
not get completely fucked through it.
And then it's recognized as time goes on, right? Where it's like, oh, well, Jason was kind of like putting the energy into this, and we saw that like pay off. Like be good.
Yeah.
Really good.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, I mean, fuck, I just think, like we were talking about before, I feel like there's a swell of hype and momentum being built around Supercross, MotoGP, F1's obviously just had a huge surge. So
World
it's like,
Superbike is amazing racing too. And, and Moto America, I think what needs to happen is again, this guy is saying what needs to happen. But if you, as a fan, if you zoom out and you look at all of these championships, right, there can be an overlap, these momentary overlaps that start to build each thing. Like everybody wants there to be a Formula One, MotoGP overlap, where MotoGP kids are going to have to bite the bullet on this one, and they're going to be racing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then Formula One gets the weekend. But finally, there's that overlap where those people, and pick a 6th spot where people actually want to go to, that'll work. I know it's tricky on levels for all of this, but you get that crossover. Then you do a MotoGP World Superbike weekend where those fans are getting together and getting to see both of these things unfold. And then there's a World Superbike Moto America thing, which they used to do at Laguna. There can be this like cross-pollination vibe that kind of builds all of this.
That needs to be a Supercross at Austin.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And a Supercross element to that too. Like Supercross Formula One, which, Supercross is easier to chuck in there because throw it in the stadium.
Build it.
Yeah, exactly. Take the tarp off the dirt, push it around,
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things, and how you do that seems crazy, but not that crazy.
No.
No.
And
I think it is kind of like, instead of, this is a good way to kind of like build all of those things, which would be super cool.
Yeah, I think that I really hope the Liberty thing goes through.
Yeah, same.
Like that will be so big.
Yeah.
For MotoGP.
Totally. I think so. They clearly know what they're doing. And let's see. I mean, I think it's a nuanced thing as well, where it's not plug and play Formula One thing. But,
for sure.
But it is just a different set of eyes observing.
Like you said.
And they're not going to come in and like change shit. They're going to watch it. They're going to figure out how they can improve it and then do it, I think they're very smart about how they go about doing stuff. So that should be good. Should be really good.
Who are some of the best personalities that you think are in MotoGP currently?
I think there's quite a bit. It's hard for me to say because I'm such a huge fan. But, Marc Marquez, which arguably is the best person to ever do it, on paper. I mean, most people think Rossi's the GOAT, but whatever. He doesn't have the loudest personality, but he's such a figure.
He says it on the track, though.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like the way that he's one of those guys that his personality comes through on the motorcycle, which is, I think, just as cool.
For sure. And then, Pecco's really chill, really kind of regular, chill Italian dude, but also on the track is wild. That dynamic in the same box is going to be crazy this year because, they will, it's coming across very, hey, we're building this new bike together right now, and it's very just like all hands on deck. As soon as we start to see what happens in the season, we'll see that flare up for sure. Fabio Quartararo is amazing. You know, he has a vibe, presence, and like amazing work ethic, sticking with Yamaha and rebuilding that program to be competitive. And based on testing, it's already looking super competitive again, which is amazing. He's great. And just, you know, he's a cool dude to see in the mix. You know, I think he brings a lot to it. And then Marco Bezzecchi is amazing. You know, he's like the closest thing to like a skate kid in that paddock, where he's like wild. He says what he wants to say, and you know, it's cool. I think he's amazing as well. There's a lot there, you know. Again, it is a little docile at times, and I don't know how, other than trying to incite beefs. Like, what do? You know, these kids have raced each other since they were fucking 7 years old. So it's like it's not some
It's
kid.
nothing new to them.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's hard to kind of like cue in on any of that stuff. But, you know, things will arise, and it's always manufacturer. It's always, there's always things that will be there to kind of like build on it. But And who knows what's coming up? Who knows what's happening? Pedro Acosta is coming in with the strong personality and vibe in like a really good way, I think, you know? So let's see the KTM thing unfold, which is wild. I know you've been talking about it, but
Heavy.
yeah.
Yeah, the KTM thing's so heavy. I just
Huge.
hope they get it straightened out. I mean, why? I wonder why they can't just do like the Renault thing, you know, like just the government buys them.
Well,
it's
yeah,
just like owned by the government.
I thought that there was, because of what, they're in like 2 or 3 little towns, and they employ like 90% of the people there, that would lead to a bailout by the government, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I've never been to Austria. The whole thing seems very un-Austrian to me, from a, you know,
from an outsider's
simple
point of view.
American take of like, damn, how'd they let that one go so hard? But
Yeah, thought you guys were numbers people.
yeah, I mean, fuck, it's crazy, you know. I think that there's I'm not sure. I want to see it work. I just bought a KTM dirt bike recently, you know. It's like KTM Supermoto is like one of the best off the rack bikes I've ever bought, you know. They make amazing stuff. If I were to look at it as a consumer, I would, and you know, I don't think they're gonna ring me on this to see what I think, but
Me.
But you know, everyone's like, yeah, they shouldn't have bought MV Agusta. Hey, they have 3 brands that make, and they've built this amazing product line, right? It's due to the hard work and success in off-road motorcycles. But man, you have 3 brands that have these insane product lines that, unless you're ahead, you do not know the difference between these bikes. And also, it's like,
That's because there is none, really.
right. And there's so many of them under 3 logos.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gas and Husky. We're going to do KTM, and then we'll have that same product range just under KTM. You know, it's really too much.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think it could be simpler, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I
But
think-
MotoGP like needs them.
100%.
You know, it's so sad. Like, they're probably the second best team on the grid.
Yeah.
And well, arguably, you know,
Yeah.
they're right there. And with what they do for Moto 3 and Red Bull Rookies
Right.
Cup and the whole, like,
Yeah.
just a whole ecosystem that really needs to stay, because that would just create like a massive hole in the whole program.
What's the talk around the Supercross paddock as far as that? Like,
I think they're just like they're their own thing.
well,
Like,
no, I know all the race teams are their own thing. You know, they're
Yeah.
not liable for whatever this. But you know, right? A court is going to decide. Whoever bails these people out is going to decide what they can do,
Yes.
whether that's a government or a bunch of people, and they can say
You can't
that
do this.
pipeline to whatever that LLC is for your race program is that taps off, man.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Hopefully not. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, are people like Chase Sexton tripping?
Don't know. It's hard to read, like, honestly, whether they are or not. Like, you'd have to be. If I would guess, I would think that all of those riders have a backup plan.
For sure.
That's what I would guess.
Well,
I would guess that they've called everybody. They know their options. They know the worst case scenario. But if I'm Sexton, I would just be taking a couple of fucking bikes and just, you know what I mean? I'd just be like, hey, if this shit does go south, I really like my bike right now. I'm just going to take a couple of these with me from my van. Yeah. Maybe the computers that plug them in and like just finish this thing out.
Well, I think that people, a lot of people are like, yo, when am I going to get a cheap dirt bike? But I don't think that's going to happen. You know what I mean? I think that all big brands, they kind of are like, well, what's the optics on that? If they're reading that we have 200,000 bikes sitting in warehouses, what do? Do we sell them for $4 or $5 grand and look foolish, or what? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I think that's what you said before. Like, that's the conversation around. Yeah. Who decides that? Some money man comes in and just like, no, you need to fire sale these things. Yeah. $6 grand a pop. Get rid of all this shit. We need to get back the money that we can
right now too, because who knows how it goes, and I don't really know much about this stuff. But it's like they could be like, okay, we're gonna bail you out, but right now you are going to liquidate everything that you have to pay, and give us that money. Like, who knows what the stipulations will behind.
Yeah, whoever. I think that's what I think manufacturers are kind of like worried about that. Yeah, that
because that could have negative effect on
everybody
OEMs.
Else. Who's buying a 2025 CRF 450 for 10 G's when you can buy a 2025 Kato for 659? Yeah. Like, that just creates such an issue.
For sure.
For everyone else in the industry. It's actually been crazy to watch, and it's been very interesting. Again, it's one of those things like that when you get a peek behind the curtain, you're just like, fuck, this is complicated. Yeah. Like, there's a lot going on here, and this isn't as easy or as cut and dry as you make it think. Like, we all need each other way more than we think we do.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's sad to see in a lot of ways too, because even listening to you and kind of watching you talk about the 350 and stuff like that, it's like they brought things to the table that no one else was. And as someone who loves like Ducati motorcycles, the closest thing to that in the like dirt bike world is that, it's like, oh, those are like billet hubs. This is like a billet triple on a off the rack OEM bike, which feels, just feels so much more premium. And even, Kiska, which does all the design stuff for them, like that's so sharp and so amazing, like the way that they've done everything, and I think they brought so much to the table in so many ways that it's really sad to see. And I went to EICMA this year in Milan to see all the new bikes, and they have a new 990 Super Sport bike, which is their first kind of racy bike outside of that 390 package that they have, and it was one of the coolest looking bikes in the show, and like
pull up a picture of that, Griff.
Yeah, it's a KTM 990 8C RCR.
RCR,
yeah. Look at it with the test livery. Go back, yeah. So Kiska posted a shot of this livery on a screen, a desktop in their office, and I copied the shit out of it, and I did my Supermoto and my dirt bike in that in that test livery. It's so sick.
That is sick.
Yeah, but that bike is so cool, and it's just cool to see them back in that space. They didn't make a bike like this forever, but like, will this thing come out now? I don't know.
Fuck, when was it supposed to come out?
This year. Yeah.
It looks dope.
They had two of them at the show, one like OEM street spec and one full race, and it was like way racier than I expected. Like, just the kit that was on it was like really good. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it might still be coming out. I have no idea, but
just the all-time fumble of a bag.
Whoops.
It's like devastating, you know. Like,
Yeah.
Why?
I think again, I don't know a ton, but you know, there's always, it's not good for anybody right now.
No.
And is it crazy that one of the OEMs out of all of them fucked up?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. But it's just, you don't see it. I think that's it's like the criticism of the Japanese is that they don't innovate as much and they don't push as hard, but like they're there and they stay there.
It's really easy to criticize the fear of shame that the Japanese brands have. They're so petrified of making a wrong decision that they sit stagnant for too long until it's too. That's what we're seeing in MotoGP.
Well, I was literally about to say that, right? Like that's literally what they're going through now at Honda, is just like scratching their head as to just how we turn this thing around.
For sure. Yeah, no, totally. And I think that I don't know. I think that wait, sorry, how did we get into that one? Like,
we're just talking about the KTM stuff.
Yeah.
And the Japanese.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
well, yeah. They're the way that they kind of,
they're just so methodical,
for sure,
and just so calculated.
Sure. Yeah,
never taking any big risks.
For sure.
There's no $60 million building in Temecula for Team Yamaha.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, for sure. And you know, it's a hard comparison for the European OEMs too, because they are not so. The Japanese OEMs make everything.
Yes.
Subways, piano. You know, there's such
great
diverse
guitars.
businesses that it's like, okay, they can cars.
Yeah.
They can get through stuff easier, but I don't know.
Well, and they could hemorrhage money for longer too.
Exactly. Right. But let's see. I think that they'll be around. Just hopefully the racing shit gets to like move forward, you know. Let's see.
It's gonna be it's gonna be tough for a minute, I think. What do you think's like play out 5 races into the season? Pecco, Mark, where are we gonna be on that rivalry?
Well, I think, and I was talking with my friend Corey about this out in the desert. If Mark doesn't wad himself to the moon in the first quarter of the season, I think it'll be really good. But he doesn't, he will push. I think on the satellite bike, he wasn't, I don't know, he was crashing on that too. But, you know, where Mark is in his arc of his career is way more at risk of pushing it too far, too long, and too crazy of a situation. And then it ends up being a scenario where it's like, oh, that dude's not riding right now, you know? I think Pecco is going to, I think because he didn't win the championship last year, his focus this year, 1-to-1 in the same box as Mark, is going to be to beat him, you know? And then if it doesn't go that way, it'll be really interesting to see mentally how he's able to kind of, can he let that roll off his shoulders and just focus on riding? He's strong. He's really strong. And I think that whole VR46 program that Valentino has built, it's really interesting to see Marquez be sharing a garage with one of the main dudes, you know, because the VR46 thing is such an amazing thing that's been built in a way that's so cool, you know? And, you know, these dudes don't post photos of themselves working out like some other riders. They post photos of them riding dirt bikes. They post photos. They're only riding. They're riding motorcycles, and that's the thing. And I think that that seeing these younger kids under his wing be the ones fighting Mark now is really interesting to see, and the Pecco thing specifically. You know, it'll be great to see how he tackles that. You know, but right now they're very much working towards a common goal. You know, it's too soon to like. But I was at World Ducati Week in Misano when they do that race of champions. Where everybody's on an OEM.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be a fun race, but really they're all trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
And Marquez was it was Bulaga, who's the World Superbike guy. Him and Bautista are the World Superbike guys for Ducati.
Yeah.
He was in P3 coming on last lap, coming into the last corner. Mark was behind him. Mark cannonballs him in the last corner. Bula goes flying off the track and finishes P3. And I was in Pecco's little box garage at that moment. And the vibe in there was like, well, here's what 2025 is going to look like. You know?
Is there footage of that anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
Where about? Can you find that?
Yeah. Marc Marquez.
Race of Champions 2024.
World Ducati. Marc Marquez World Ducati Week.
Yeah, dude. I have a feeling 2025 for Marc Marquez is either going to be crash out of a ton of races or destroy everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I think his mentality for this year is old school Marquez. Like, destroy the field.
For sure, but he's skipping a whole bike generation. It's, you know, everybody said the same thing when he was swinging a leg over Ducati. They're like, oh, he's going to win every race. That, to me, shows the arc of his career right now, where it's like, no. And the bikes, unfortunately, the bikes are too important part of the package. The rider is less important than the bike these days, as you can see in who's winning races. Ducati won every race except for one last year. And, you know, hopefully that is changing, but it's like, yeah, I mean,
it's just not that easy.
No, it's not that easy. So let's see. I think that he'll do really well, but how long will it take for him to be Marc Marquez on that bike?
On that bike, yeah.
You know?
Let's watch this. Oh, is it the battle? Yeah, Race of Champions.
Yeah, but that's going to be the whole thing.
Yeah.
Try to do...
Could you go to the end of it?
Oh, yeah, you can go to that.
Yeah, just skip to the end of it. Yeah, go to that. We probably, see at the end now, I bet that's where it is. Go back. Maybe keep going backwards.
Yeah, go back.
Where that big spike is. Yeah. Yes, here we go. Go back. Go back a little bit.
No, back it up just slightly.
Yeah, keep going back. It's sick that they
This is so sick that they do this.
Yeah, it's sick that they do this.
Okay, here we go.
So Pecco's in front.
Yeah.
Down in 15th position, half a lap to go. Up the road
Yeah, Marquez just wants it, dude.
Oh, man.
So what bikes are they on here?
They're on Ducati V4S's. These are the brand new ones that they just came out with.
Oh, Marquez is just all over him.
Bro.
Oh, dude, he is hanging it out, bro.
It's so crazy.
8-time world champion. Like, when you just say it.
Dude. Here we go. Not this one, but the next one.
Oh.
Right here on this corner. Oh, you see him look over his shoulder?
Yeah.
That bullet goes out in the gravel.
Oh. Surely they have to show it. How did they go away from that battle?
Well,
Everyone's looking too, like, dude.
here we have a World Superbike rider that is, it's sick.
Look at them in the box.
Not happy. I was in there.
Oh, you were in there when that happened.
Yeah.
Oh. Go back, Griff. Oh, they only just caught it. Oh, dude, run it in.
He's like, bro.
Mark's like, I don't really care how much this bike costs. Oh,
Gigi and Claudio they had look. Nothing was said. They looked at each other and they're like, here we go.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's the mentality I think Mark has.
That will probably happen, and we'll see. But I think it'll be great. You know, I love Pecco. he's a super cool kid, and we talk pretty often, and like he's up for it. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun.
Dude, I'm so ready for it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good season. I think people leaving manufacturers, Bez and Martin going to Aprilia is gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people got hurt that first day of testing, which isn't good.
Yeah, what do they do there?
So it's like 6 days. The first 3 days are shakedown, so it's just test riders and rookies.
Yeah.
They get to have 3 days before the test starts, and then all the factory boys show up, and it's but there's also concessions now too. So Fabio was able to ride, the Japanese brands are able to do all of the 6 days.
Yeah.
So
Which is huge.
huge, and looking at how the tests unfolded, it was Yamaha was up there, which is great to see. Yeah.
We need Yamaha up there.
100%.
Like Fabio Quartararo needs to be up the front of the
He's
field.
so good. It's unbelievable. And to see him, he's always been a very humble dude, but I think an athlete like that, you have to park any sort of ego stuff and commit. And obviously the contract with the large figure helps you get through that.
Bottle it.
Yeah.
Swallow.
But no, he has worked really hard and stayed with it to kind of like see it through, and super cool to see. So yeah, Yamaha, such an important team, and Honda needs to get back there too.
Yeah.
I think it'll be super cool.
I'm stoked that Jack's on Yamaha too. I hope that it does.
He's already
well.
He's already looking good.
Yeah.
Big Jack fan. Love
He's
that
the
dude.
man.
Yeah.
Have you guys spent too much? Like
I
bit of
met
time
him.
around?
I met him the first MotoGP race I ever went to in Austin. When I was kind of just getting to know Pecco and the Ducati team, Paolo Ciabatti and all of them. I was going there, and my Aussie girl was like, "Hey," she knew that I was gonna like be in the Ducati box and stuff like that, and she's like, "If you meet Jack, give him this." And she orders Aussie shit from this website. She
that's
gave
so
me a
sick.
pack of Tim Tams
Yes.
to give to Jack.
That's awesome.
And I was when I first went in the box, I didn't meet him. He wasn't in there, so I just left a box of Tim Tams by his helmet. And then me and my boy were out on the service road watching a practice or qualifying or something like that. And Paolo Ciabatti texted me. He was like, "Yo, Jack lost his mind over the Tim Tams. He's like, come by. He wants to say what's up." So I went and we chopped it up, and that was like right. COVID was still going on. He hadn't been able to go home for how long, and like we just talked about shit. But yeah, he's sick.
That's sick. Yeah, I'm stoked that he is. I'm stoked that he got another ride as well. Like that was sketchy
For sure.
for a while there, but he's like done so well in that Pramac environment, and then hopefully, if the Yamaha has taken the step that it looks like it's taken, that, he can be competitive again.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think he really enjoyed that KTM experience that much.
No, doesn't look like he did. And I think there's so much involved in all that stuff. People's careers, where they're at, where the project and the package is at, and I think KTM has never famously been the best to the riders. Obviously Binder, they've like been down for forever, but other people have gone in there and like not lasted long. So let's see.
You get in those situations like Andrew Short, right? I never really knew this, but as I had like Millsaps and Tedesco, and you get these guys on the pod that were in that environment,
right?
And like HRC was cycling through guys, and Shorty was just there.
Yeah,
the bike was always dope. The bike was always great. The team was great. Everything was great. And you just have like that one guy that just like stays through it.
Yeah.
You
totally.
wonder if that's what Brad is.
Yeah,
just like, nah, bro, the bike's pretty good.
Yeah.
And the team's just like, yeah, that's thanks, bro. That's the guy. You stick around, And you get the other guy that's like, dude, this thing fucking sucks. And
yeah,
they end up.
There's, new reality with Pedro though, so we'll see.
Yeah, well, they got a guy that wants to win.
Yeah, well, and he just has the momentum and the energy, and was immediately doing things on the bike that Brad wasn't able to do. So we'll see.
Man, he was so good.
Yeah.
Initially.
Well, at Texas, I remember at Texas, right before the back straight, there's like a hard braking left. And they were playing the onboard footage of Pecco almost smashing into the back of people, which is just confidence on a bike he barely knows. You know, he's ridden a handful of times. It's like, damn, this guy's crazy.
I remember watching the test footage. Do you remember the test, like his first test at the end of last year? Oh, sorry, end of 23, when they like just the first time he got on the bike.
Yeah, it's like right after the Valencia round, like for that Tuesday. Yeah,
and he was just lighting the thing.
Yeah,
up. And it's
I do remember that.
Oh, trying to find that footage.
Yeah,
it was I think like 2023
Valencia test.
Yeah, Valencia test, and dude, he was just. I was like, oh, he's ready. Yeah. Imagine the first time getting on a MotoGP bike.
Yeah, and
just like feeling that level of power and sophistication,
and not being scared, like, oh yeah,
and just being like, let's let this thing eat, dude.
Totally.
Yeah, look at this. That's the one there. Fast forward through to some of this shit. It's just the riding. Yeah, go back a bit. It's just they don't have enough shots of guys. Like that's one thing I think MotoGP needs to do is just like have more. Not broadcast cameras, but just like content cameras.
For sure.
You know?
No, it's...
Supercross has that in spades at the moment. Like there's so many good filmers that are able to capture content.
Yeah.
You know, and because it's too expensive from a broadcast perspective. Yeah, look at him go, First time on the bike. Yeah, 6 laps in.
Yeah.
Where they show
Look at that.
Where's the slide?
I mean, you can even just see by the way he's talking right now. He's like,
he's
gassed.
bricked up. He's tall.
But yeah, I mean, it's similarly though with Supercross. Like, dude, put some cameras on those dudes racing. Like, I know you've talked about it a lot, but fuck, come on,
kills me.
And also, like, I do not like that drone footage that flattens it out. You know, it's fine when they're like level with the dudes, but when you're flattening it out and shooting from above, not as good.
Can you play the Phoenix just highlights for me? I just want to I haven't really looked at it from like a camera perspective, but I feel like everything's too high. Like every camera's too high. It feels like when they're filming. Like look how high that is there.
Yeah.
Like, what perspective do you really see? That's a super high camera angle.
Yeah.
So, like, we're just literally 100 feet above these guys right now. That's kind of, I mean, you're pretty high still.
Yeah, totally. But at least they were kind of level, so it's not like flattening out that these dudes are like 30 feet in the air.
I mean, every single shot. I want to see in a couple of laps, again, super high.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he got so lucky, dude. That completely saved his championship right there.
But showing rider cam stuff of that's what...
Yeah, we fully missed that. So, yeah, like we're so far away. Every single shot is so far away from the actual action of the race. Like that's the first... low-ish shot that we've had, and it's like again that's the same angle, so they've obviously got like a lower camera there, but again like everything's so low and pulled back, it feels like. See, this is better
for sure,
but yeah, I don't know, at least to me that's one thing that it just feels like they don't do that good of a job on the broadcast, is like actual onboard, actual bike rider footage. And then everything is always just, it's like watching horse racing.
Do you think the camera should be on the rider or on the bike?
Probably the rider.
Yeah.
I think so, on the rider for sure.
And granted, there's roost, there's wet races. I realize it's not 1-to-1 for other things. I mean, obviously MotoGP races in the wet too, but it's like sometimes it's going to suck, but it's not the full thing. It's even like what they're talking about in MotoGP. There needs to be some more calms things like what you're saying in Supercross needs to start happening where even from there was, I don't know if you ever knew about that Luca Salvadori dude. He's a Italian racer.
I know the name.
He passed away in a road race, like a TT style race last year. Super cool guy, but he had a really big YouTube following, and he did his own shit. But he would overlay his crew's audio, not talking to him, but just box.
Can you find it?
Box to track communication, and he would show an audio wave, and then have little like audio moments broadcasting what's being talked about, and it's like. That's the kind of stuff where you have different limitations than the F1 driver is able to talk to the box and vice versa. You're talking about it should maybe just be one way for Supercross, but even just hearing the team talk, and they can't just put everything out there. But if they're able to put some stuff out there,
so what are we looking up actually before I say that?
Luca Salvadori, yep, Salvadori.
SAL LV. Yeah, there you go. Lucas Salvadori there.
Yeah, that dude.
So, wonder. Do you know any videos where it would actually be?
It would be.
Damn, he was crushing.
Yeah, how many followers did he have? Yeah,
634. But look at the views, man.
Yeah, super cool, dude. I met him.
And he passed away.
Yeah, he died in a race, which is really sad. You scroll down a little bit more.
Bro, his views.
We gotta find this. A lot of this is after his race season, and
what series was he racing?
It's a CIV championship. So go back up, like do that Gara 2 right there. Yeah. And maybe just hit a middle section where he's racing.
Wait, that's a shit feeling. Oh,
almost hit another dude. Yeah, go in the middle there.
Keep going.
Yeah,
like that. Fuck, it's such a gnarly sport, dude.
It is. And I mean, he didn't do it all the time, but the fact that he was doing this on his own initiative, he was like, oh shit, this is a cool thing to add to it. It was like, it's cool to see a visual and audio element that you're not used to seeing in this added to it. And MotoGP's done it at the end of season as like kind of recap vibes where they've shown like box conversation with people out on the track, like spotters and stuff like that. But like those are the things that kind of need to be added just to kind of add that layer.
What thickens.
Like
layers.
Totally.
Layers is a great way to say it.
Yeah.
In Formula One though, I was literally talking about this. Fuck, I was only just talking about this, but they basically have like a guy that's like a producer for the comms, right? And so there's like a ton of stuff that does not get shared.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they have like an agreement with the teams that, hey, we won't use these kinds of things. Like apparently Oscar Piastri was just like dropping C-bombs like crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
They get fined too, don't they?
I'm not sure, but either way, the broadcast was just like, okay, we ain't using that. And then like they end up making a joke with him after the race. Like, hey, like you maybe owe us a beer for that one, you know?
Yeah.
But there's a middleman that's like getting the comms that knows the vibe. Like this is what we can put out. This is what we can't put out. They've got an agreement with the teams that no specific information is going to be shared. Like it's a very professionally done.
Well, there's a lot that has to go into that, right?
For sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how many people are working on that in Formula One, but it's probably a lot. And maybe they're not able to do it in the things that we're talking about, but it could be done as
post content.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, if it's not live in the first year, it's like just used in race recaps and it's used in, content ad hoc.
After the weekend to kind of build for the next weekend. It could be really good.
I just think about all the moments we've lost.
Yeah.
And when you're on the floor and you're filming and you're around the guys, like there's so much conversation. The guys, they do talk to each other. There's like a lot of interaction that would make for really great content if they actually assign crews
to capturing that. And there's people within the industry that are more than capable of doing it, but it literally would just come down to a spend. They would just have to spend the money to mic the dudes up, spend the money to have the crews that film it, and like it's a lift that they would have to put in, but the return
for sure
on investment would be fucking crazy.
For sure. And it shows evolution, right? And we're talking about the Japanese OEMs and stuff like that. Everybody's kind of guilty of just like
mailing it in a way.
A plateau, It's like, oh, this is good. This works. We got the fireworks. Those girls are holding the yeah. But that is, as an American, I think it's fair to say that's kind of the lazy is not the right word, but we get in our zone, and then kind of it works. Let's do it. But it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, where it's like Supercross is this premier thing that everyone around the world tunes into. It's not as big as Formula One or NASCAR or whatever, but
we're the thing that all the cool kids watch.
For sure.
And I know that for a fact.
And do you feel, and I guess what I'm going to ask is, do you feel that it's to that level? Like, no, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We got room.
Yeah, totally.
And it's again, a collective effort. Yeah. Everyone has got to get better, and everyone's got to push. But I mean, it's the coolest shit. Yeah. Like, I know multiple Formula One drivers that watch it and that I interact with about the racing every time that it's on. Yeah. The MotoGP boys, every single downhill mountain bike rider, like every NASCAR dude, like everyone watches Supercross. It's the coolest shit. Everyone wants to be a Supercross racer, like Eli Tomac, Jet Lawrence, fucking god amongst men.
Totally. I mean, there's, I look at the kind of design and the merch and all of those things in kind of the same way, where I'm like, damn, I feel like this shit could be a little bit better.
Way cooler.
I feel like Jet does a really good job. The Alpinestars guy does his
the actual merch.
Yeah.
I don't know who does the actual merch. Is it the Alpinestars?
It felt like the guy that was doing who left Fox and went to Alpinestars.
I know the guy. He actually has
was it Dave?
Yeah, he
Durham?
has a yes.
Yeah. You remember when there was a big shift?
He was at Fox when I was doing a bunch of shooting for Fox. I used to shoot a ton of their campaigns in like 14, 15,
and
16.
he left to go to Alpinestars, and that was the shift. You saw Alpinestars kind of transform aesthetically at that time. And it was noticeable, you know what I mean? But and no diss to Deegan, but I've looked through his merch and like the energy and the momentum behind his thing, and then I scrolled through there and I'm like, it's a little off the right. Like,
well, and he's like, dude, go on his Instagram right now. How he's wearing Supreme in like
often.
All of it.
Really?
Like he is.
Well, yeah, I mean, like that's what the kids are very into the shit outside of the sport, and a lot of it leans a little like, oh yeah,
bang.
That was a cool jersey. Oh, on the kid on the PJ, yeah, and then he's got like Louis Carpenter pants and shoes on and shit. I mean, yeah,
like he's wearing like there's a hat.
Yeah.
No, not that one. The next one there. That's Supreme.
Yeah.
Probably a Supreme shirt.
I think that there's, look, it comes back to like how much time or energy does a kid actually have to put into that?
Yeah, and he's got a team. Yeah,
he's got somebody that's doing it. But as a designer, you look at some of that stuff and it's these worlds kind of colliding where I'm like, damn, I wish there was
at least something in the middle. Because, dude, the Deegan 38 merch that you see at a Supercross, by far the most.
Really?
Oh, dude. Not even close.
So when we go to races, one of the first things that we do is we go to the merch zone and we look at every goddamn thing that there is and be like, okay, like
get a lay of the land.
See what's there. There's always the team stuff. There's the rider stuff. There's the event stuff. And it's always kind of like, shit, I don't know if there's one thing I want here. And if there is something, I'll get it. You know what I mean? But oftentimes there isn't. And that's not a diss, but I just feel like it's it's kind of a box tick for the week of events, right? We got the we got it. We're gonna sell it, and it's like, yeah. It just doesn't. It feels a little like not that thought out, or
and not representative of like how cool the sport is,
or the personalities,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that I think can add to what we're wanting to see out of all this stuff. And you know, these kids are showing that they're into kind of style, fashion, all this stuff. Well, show it in your gear. You show it in your merch. You should want to wear your merch too, you know, or be psyched seeing someone else other than the fact that it's just your name or number or something like that. And I think there's so much that can kind of be done there. Which I think is cool. And that's why I've been enjoying working on that kind of stuff outside of like my daily shit, which has been super exciting. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you go to like a Formula One race and you'll see an absolute smoke show of a chick wearing merch.
Yeah.
You know, and she looks good in it.
Yeah,
you know, like a Ferrari jacket or an Aston Martin jacket, or like that really doesn't exist in our sport.
No,
for sure.
In Times Square right now in New York City, there's a Petronas store set up, and it's like, damn, that's crazy. I didn't know. I saw it recently. I was like, I didn't know that was there. I've never like heard of that. You know,
I think Danny's done a good job with his Enchante stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's not Daniel Ricciardo. He's not like putting his like wearing his name around. And like, I'm with him, and he's always wearing that shit. Yeah. You know, like he actually is wearing his brand. It's like, it's his style. It's like he actually likes that.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing too, when it's just like straight Deegan 38. There is like a weird feeling people have of like wearing their own merch.
Well, those dudes can't do anything with their race shit too, right?
Yeah.
I
think they can a little bit, but it's like, it's quite limited because of, again, how hard like the process is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's why it was super cool talking to your brother and working on the Jack stuff. Because I happened to be going to Australia at the same time. So it was like, oh, sick. And like, he has such a cool thing going because of his carrying on what his dad was doing. The fact that was two wheels, this is car. Like, there's so many cool kind of crossover things there. But in doing something referential to his dad, but in a new way, that's super cool.
Yeah, the Doing Okay stuff crushed.
Yeah, it's so cool. Sick. We're psyched. Have you see the OzGP shirt?
Nah.
It's cool.
Is it up yet?
It's on there. Yeah, it's like a pit board shirt. Yeah,
go find that. Where would it be?
DoingOK.com.
Just Doing Okay,
I think, or whatever his website is, jackdoing.com.
No, just okay, like no AY. Go down. Jackdoing.com. Yeah, go down.
You had it.
You're just about at it. Go.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah,
7.
bang.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the new kind of logo lockup ID.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
You guys did that?
Yeah, yep, totally.
Yeah.
So that's the OzGP shirt.
I love that.
Yeah, so, you know, it's
go to the back.
And it's like a pit board, something very straightforward, but like, you know, kind of, it's tricky to use. Doing okay is a lot of letters, and figuring out a way to make it a logo was tricky, but it's kind of like went through a lot of stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like we found these old cool pit board images of just the tiles on the ground and stuff like that. And, you know, it's like, oh, we can kind of like block this out. Like, you know, it ended up working really good, and he was like really psyched on it, you know? And I think, started off with just that logo, and then did the OzGP shirt too to go with it. And then, you know, we'll probably hopefully continue to do stuff like that. And he seems like really kind of, you know, engaged in like personal vibe, fashion stuff as well. So it's cool to see. I didn't know there was another Aussie kid racing in GP this year too. So there's another dude too.
Which one?
I forget his name, but it's like there's a lot of rookies this year. I think it's going to be
in which GP?
No, in Formula
F1.
One. Formula One.
You got Oscar Piastri, Liam Lawson.
I think that's the other
New,
one.
New Zealand.
Yeah. Oh, New Zealanders.
Yeah.
My bad.
Dude, nah, we claim the good ones. Yeah, so there's literally going to be 3
That's cool.
Aussie Anzacs. Which
Yeah.
is wild. But I think Jack just had so much like heritage with with his dad and like the whole doing
That's
okay
what was
thing.
tricky though too, because it's like you can't just chuck Chuckwalla on there and have it say doing okay underneath it. And you know, we talked a lot about it's like, okay, cool. Like what can we do that like is a nod to that, but it feels newer. And I think that that's kind of like one thing that we've been talking about a lot is like you look at stuff now and there's a lot, sure, you can just kind of find a cool old vintage thing and like riff it. But, you know, it's kind of like, how do you do a nuanced take of a modern version of that? Because there is so much sick 90s Moto, Supercross, like all race stuff, you know. But it was also different. There's tobacco involved. There was all these things involved where it was like, okay, you had real estate to do whatever you want. And that like kind of simple, clean design aesthetic was like much more achievable than it is now. So how do you kind of like take some of these reference points and then like, shit, how do we recontextualize that and make that feel kind of new and modern and like, it's fun. It's super fun. And that's the kind of stuff I feel like I'm not seeing a ton of.
Yeah.
You know?
So like if you were Deegan and you liked Supreme and you were into that hype beast type vibe, like how do you bridge the gap between having the merch that is just like the easy Deegan 38 with the monster logo on it and then to have something in the middle? Like how do you bridge that gap?
Well, it depends on what you want to do, you know? Like you could do the separate brand, which is interesting, but also maybe too far of a step, you know? But it's also, you can do Deegan 38 stuff in a way that doesn't feel like you're at the track, you're at the race. And
well, they've also got the Danger, like DNG.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you know,
that alone, you know what I mean?
Surely there's
because
something in that.
You know what's funny? When I flipped through the site, the only one that I would have been like, I was like, oh, this is sick, was just an ARC logo Deegan with the monster logo. You know, just like that simple kind of basic thing where the other stuff wasn't bad, but it's just like Moto illustration or like, you know, it's kind of textbook general thing where it doesn't stand out. And if I'm looking at Deegan stuff, I'm like, oh, I want to stand out. His dad, like the whole, you know, similar to the doing thing that we're talking about. We're talking about a legacy here, you know, and this is 2.0 of that legacy. And how does that look and stand on that foundation that his dad built, but in this new way, you know, and is very Danger Boy, you know, which, you know, a lot of kids are in that position, you know, and I think it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, like the straight up stuff is cooler to me, you know.
That is, I do like that the logo with the
I mean, you know.
There's such a thing that like there's a moto audience, like such a typical, like that's one of the great things about our sport is like there is a core foundational fan.
Yeah.
And he isn't wearing Supreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's wearing fucking Carhartt work boots and he drives an old F-150.
For sure. And
you know,
and I'm 100% conscious of the fact that this stuff is all subjective. And there's like there's like that fan, but then there's also the guys like us. For sure.
Like I would love to be able to express my love of moto more than what I can. Yeah. And it's still say it's moto without, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Without looking like that. Like there is a whole spectrum. For sure. And there's one side of like one end of the spectrum that is just like fully getting taken care of. And all those boxes 100%. Are ticked, but there is like a missing thing in the middle, you know?
Definitely. There is that. And, you know, I think that the thing is that I think about often too is like, will someone in 15 years come across this and be like, fuck, this is sick? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Similar to how a lot of reference points are grabbed onto now. It's like, what will... That's the kind of thinking that I put into it and that we've been... the guys that I've been working with on this stuff have been thinking about. It's like, okay, cool. Like, why is this stuff cool that we're liking that's old now, and how do you make something that in 10, 15 years will be like, oh shit, that's cool. And it feels foundational and like real and like
it feels like authentic to the sport.
Exactly. Because I mean, we spend so much time digging and buying shit on eBay, Grail, all this stuff. It's shocking.
Really
shocking.
So is more of your job as a designer research than designing?
A lot. A lot. Because I think with everything I've done, skate, all this stuff, and it's the same conversation we're having. This rabbit holing mindset on stuff where it's like, show me everything. Show me all of it. And then, how do you do that? Like, well, next weekend I'm flying to Tokyo because you know who preserves a culture better than anybody else?
The Japanese.
The Japanese. It has a high price tag on it. You will pay a lot more for it. But they have it.
That's so
everything,
dope, dude.
Everything that we were like, okay, we're done with this. They were like, all right, cool. And then 10 years later, when we're like, fuck, remember that one thing? Can't get that anymore. Well, you can fly to Japan, you can buy it. Like it's such an amazing place where it's like and there's lots of places around the world like that too. I think a huge thing for me is like I travel a lot. I go to a lot of places. I see a lot of different things. And for a while that was more important than it is now because now you can kind of dial it up on your phone and maybe regionally it's not as unique as it used to be because everybody has this huge pool in their hands of things to look at. But still there's something new and unique. Australia is a great example, man, because of where that place sits. It still very regionally has its own thing, you know? Like when the first time I went there, I was like, okay, 24 hours, it's a little warmer and English speaking. I get it. Yeah, cool. And then the next 3 or 4 days, it was like these little things that were like jarring. I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? There's still like a lot of like regionally nuanced things in a lot of parts of the world where it's like, it's really cool and important to see that stuff. And it changes your perspective on when you return to your like familiar surroundings and stuff like that. And really kind of like be like, oh shit. But anyway, getting back to the design part of it is like, we pay attention to so much stuff that it's like really kind of informs decisions and you kind of can cue in on things that are cool. Why is it cool? And how do you use that for something currently, which is super fun. And like, it's a good time.
So you go to Japan, is that like a work thing? Like you're going there for inspiration and you're going there to like, you're almost like collecting.
Yeah, and a long time ago, I wouldn't even said that, but now it's not a secret. Lots of people go. If you go there, you will see other people doing the same thing. It is what it is, and it's a huge thing out there. But knowing the right places to go to is like the nuance part of it, where it's like, okay, you can go walk through Harajuku and go to all these vintage places. Have you been to Tokyo?
Yeah. But I've never got to. I went, dude. I had a crazy Tokyo experience. So, have you ever heard of the band 1OK Rock?
No.
So they're like it's wild. I had no idea. I was touring. Well, there was a period of time from like 16 to 18 where I was just like touring with bands and like making music films. And so I was touring with this band called Issues. They were like Bring Me the Horizon, like that Sleeping with Sirens, Pierce the Veil, like that Warped Toury kind of scene.
Yeah.
And so we were doing these tours with them around like Europe and the US. And then they got offered to play a show in Tokyo with this band 1OK Rock.
Okay.
And they're like this Japanese boy band, but the lead singer of the band is the son of like the Japanese Angelina Brad Pitt type vibe.
Okay.
So, dude, we fucking flew into Tokyo with this band, played in this aircraft hangar. There was like 60,000 people in this fucking like floor aircraft hangar. It was the craziest shit. And so the whole time we were in Tokyo, it was just like paparazzi, like these dudes were just getting fucking mobbed outside of our hotel, thousands and thousands of, like, it was such a crazy experience.
Yeah.
So I had like the weirdest Tokyo experience. I've never got to go and just like peruse Tokyo.
Go check stuff out. Yeah, it's a crazy place.
I want to go this year. I'm trying to set up a trip.
Yeah, it's a crazy place. I usually go a couple times a year, and it's like,
Where do you
wild.
go? Like, where do you stay?
in Tokyo, in Shibuya, usually sometimes there's two hotels that I usually stay at. One, Shibuya is like the center. You never see all those thousands of people cross the street. That zone, and then another place like not far away. But yeah, it's all, Tokyo's amazing, and it's all kind of like walkable. When I first started going there, you didn't have an iPhone, and in fact, you couldn't bring a cell phone from another country because they had their own network that didn't just like, you couldn't throw a SIM in. Yeah. So you literally just like walked and cruised, and then
nothing's in English either.
Yeah, and also that's kind of how you find shit now, because it's like it's so tight and snaky, these little streets, and like you just cruise around and check shit out, and it's cool. Vintage, new stuff, like, you know, they do everything 120%. You know, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do a project at the moment with Yamaha.
Oh, shit.
To go. Because, I mean, for me, like, at least creatively in my mind, I want to make a piece that, like, kind of digs a little bit into the Japanese culture around motorcycles. And, like, we're partnered with Yamaha. So I'm like, I want to go to fucking Yamaha. Like, I want to go to Japan. What is Yamaha?
Or Iwata?
I don't know where it is.
Yeah, one of them's. Yeah, okay.
But it's like, I just want to go there, and I want to feel that vibe. Like, there's such a disconnect between the Western world and Japan on like just the culture around those motorcycles and like how they're made, why they're made.
And motorcycle culture over there is crazy. Like the Bozuzuku stuff, like that shit is nuts. And I mean, like they said, they're so deep.
So into what they're into.
Yeah, but I agree with you, and I think that would be really interesting to see, like, especially how does a Japanese dirt bike rider like get in the, you know, how does that happen there? We know the OEM vibe, but that's it, you know? And like, there's so much to that when we talk about like where those OEMs are in MotoGP, where they are in Motocross Supercross. Like, yeah, it's an interesting world. How those companies are structured and work. Most dudes kind of are on a project for 3 or 4 years, and then they move to something else. Yeah. And it's like, those people are working for those brands their whole life, you know, usually.
Yeah. It's this special thing that is so taken for granted. Yeah. As a Western rider that just goes, next week I'm going to pick up a brand new Yamaha from a dealership. Yeah. I'm going to take it to Glen Helen and I fucking send it up and down the hills. Yeah. And that's it. Like, there's no connection between where this bike comes from and all of the years that they've been innovating and making these incredible products. Like, it's wild to me that I don't understand it more.
But also, if you look at the OEMs here for Supercross, they're not truly factory teams, right? You know, Star Racing Yamaha, it was, but now it's, I mean, Honda would be the closest thing, but I'm sure you know people at Honda US, very small operation, you know, and scale-wise, considering one step removed from Japan, it's like, oh shit. Like, all the OEMs in the US are very small, you know? It's pretty interesting to see because proportionate to the market.
Yeah. There's such a bigger presence here, and it's like a huge market for them. But yeah, just this tiny group of like passionate moto dudes. And then in like the Star Yamaha case, it's like a fucking farm in Georgia. Yeah. Or Tallahassee. That's that's like, there's not that much interaction. But I just wonder too, like, they're not prototype bikes. They're very production based, you know, so there's probably not that much.
For sure. But the Japanese ethos and vibe would insinuate that they want to be there. Yeah. Hands on, know what the deal is. But maybe it's gotten to such a good place
maybe
technically that they're like, okay, cool.
And so much more bike than rider in that sport. You know, I think that's like fundamentally the difference between Supercross and MotoGP and F1. I think that's the thing that is always going to make it the most exciting of the motorsports is because it is so much more about the jockey than the horse.
For sure.
And I just don't think that will ever change.
No. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the reality of that racing, the track, the weather, all of it, it's like, it's not enough removed from a showroom OEM bike. Yeah.
But think about like what you just said then, like the variables. You've got this bike that's like pretty well has to be a showroom bike that anyone can buy. Then you've got this track that changes every single lap, and the dirt changes every single weekend, and the weather changes every single, like that, infinite variables.
Yeah.
You're just never going to be able to like control that environment in the way that you can control for like Formula One and MotoGP. Yeah. Obviously, so many differences, you know, track to track, surface to surface.
Yeah, definitely. It's not,
but still, it's just never changing the way that shit is.
Right. And even, I think because of that too, there's more of this like performance, precipice isn't the right word, but performance pinnacle attached to that road racing, right? Where they, I think, are maybe more, more worried, more hands-on in a way. But, you know, it's talking to people that have ridden for those teams on a Honda bike. If one small thing is not going right, that's a 4-day email chain to fix one minor situation. You know, like that's where the evolution has halted. That needs to change, and Yamaha's doing it. It appears that HRC is trying to now, but they were not for quite a while. You know, like, but
so who wins MotoGP title 2025? While we're on the
Pecco Bagnaia.
Ooh, Pecco. Yeah. Gets back, gets it done.
No pressure, Pecco.
Where's Marquez finish in the championship?
Doesn't finish.
Injured.
Hey, he marked himself off the track, and no, I don't want to see him get hurt. I hate to say shit like that, but you know, as we were talking about earlier, it's a possibility.
Yeah,
it's been too much a part of his career the last how long? But that's a bold prediction on day 3 of testing. We don't know.
That's what we're doing though. We're just pie in the sky, bro.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Pecco probably a good call.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Or it's the wild prediction is not a Ducati, but
who could if it's not a Ducati? Who could?
The wild card is that the Yamaha turns the corner hard enough this year, and Fabio got back. But you know, I think that the Ducati's too far beyond the other bikes right now to think that it'll change that quickly. It's still a work in progress, you know. But I think the racing will be better. I think we're going to see more people at the front, more other bikes on the front, and hopefully some little dramas that seem spicy, and we'll see.
We'll just lean in.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just be in there to just like get it, really try and ruffle some feathers.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Got the Japan trip?
Going to Japan. Have some cool projects in this world popping up.
Yeah.
Kenny Roberts is fielding a team in the U.S. in Moto America this year. So the King Kenny's back in the mix, and we're working with him on his team stuff, which we're super excited about.
Sick.
Yeah. So kind of based off some classic Kenny Roberts aesthetics, which we're super fired up about. And he has Cody Kopp, a flat track champion. Racing for him. So this is kind of a return to the essence of American road racing, because all those original dudes came from flat track backgrounds. got into road racing, and he's coming back into it to do that. So
That's sick.
Yeah.
What bikes is he going to be on?
there's a spec bike. It's a Kramer, which is a KTM 350 engine,
Yeah.
in a spec chassis for the series. So it's their attempt to kind of make it a more of a prototype chassis,
Yeah.
so that it's kind of a road to MotoGP kind of vibe. So yeah, they're gonna start testing those in March, and then they will be racing at Coda with GP that weekend. So we're working on that stuff right now, and we have some other cool projects coming up. Yeah,
Sick, dude.
yeah,
This has been fun.
yeah. Thanks,
This
man.
was a good way to cross 3
good
hours.
one, and good just like conversational riff, dude.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks
Yeah,
for. I'm glad we've made it happen too, because
For sure.
it was like the fires, the A1
Yeah,
thing, and then
yeah.
we've been like crazy busy. But
Yeah.
it's like a little good one to slot in between
Yeah.
couple of riders. So
Sounds good, man.
enjoy Japan,
Yeah, I will. Thanks, man.
and we'll do this again at some point.
Sounds good.
Legend.
Thanks, man.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.